40 years ago, we opened our doors with one mission in mind.
We'll be right back with the top 10 songs of 1983.
To sell quality American-made vehicles at a fair price.
You have arrived.
And we've loved every minute of the ride. Celebrating 40 years of Two Rivers Ford.
From the Superbook.com sports desk, I'm Jonathan Schaefer. It is 6:02. Good morning. The Titans have addressed some of their offseason needs by reportedly coming to terms with defensive end Arden Key, linebacker Azeez Al-Shaair, and offensive lineman Daniel Brunskill. For Key, it is a 3-year, $21 million deal with a max value of $24 million. It includes $13 million fully guaranteed at signing. First two of the first four games last night in the NCAA tournament. Texas A&M Corpus Christi over Southeast Missouri State, 75-71. Pittsburgh 60, Mississippi State 59. Tonight, Fairleigh Dickinson taking on Texas Southern. We will join that game in progress following 3HL. And then Nevada versus Arizona State. NIT action over at Memorial Gym. Vanderbilt defeated Yale 71-62. Tyron Lawrence scored a game-high 25 points. And to the ice, the Predators defeated the Red Wings 2-1. The Preds have won 3 in a row. For all your foundation repair and waterproofing needs, visit USSTN.com. Breaking news at once on your home for the Titans and the Vols. This is 104.5 The Zone.
Wednesday morning edition and off and running on our boat, Kayla and Will, and it's powered by All Four Seasons Garage Doors, where the Tennessee Titans become a little bit closer to the Tennessee 49ers on Tuesday afternoon. Adding an inside linebacker, a Swiss Army knife on the offensive line, and a defensive lineman who will need no introduction from the AFC South one season ago. We preview how free agent moves may have already changed draft priorities in the first round. March Madness beginning. Lots to discuss. Alongside the executive producer of Titans Radio, Rhett Bryan, filling in for Ramon Foster once again this morning. Our Capitalized J journalist, Kayla Anderson, and the best producer in the world, Jonathan Schaefer.
The best producer in the world!
My name is Will Bowling. Wednesday, March the 15th. Good morning. How are we?
We're doing good. We're at the official day where we can actually make things official, right?
At 3 o'clock
Yes.
this afternoon.
Set your timers.
Yes. And listen, this time change I have said to you all week has really kicked my rear end because this is not my normal schedule shift. I mean, I get up pretty early, but anyway.
It's still early.
I finally crashed pretty early last night, only to wake up in the middle of the night and see Arden Key. And I'm like, whoa. Took me an hour to go back to sleep because I was fired up.
Yep. I did the same thing.
I'm going to find you. Yeah, exactly. Ric Flair. The Nate Boy. With a tear in my eye, I can tell you how much I like the reported signing of Arden Key from LSU. I'm gonna go find our draft expert, Mike Detillier. I've got, of course, anybody from LSU he knows all about, and I'll find some original audio from him from that 2018 draft, and I'll find the thumbnail description from him for us to have for the show to kind of go back to see what his skill set was coming out of college. That's exciting, though.
Yeah.
And then Daniel Brunskill, let me
Not
tell
bad.
you, not bad at all. So, guy's 6'5", 300, and has played every position on the offensive line for the 49ers in his time there. And let's see, where is this? I've got it. Okay, 492 offensive snaps last season for the 49ers. Did not allow a sack or a pressure over that span. He started 17 games for the 49ers in 2021. Started every game in 2020 and 2021 at right guard with some at center. Also has played tackle. This is the kind of stuff we were talking about yesterday, and the more you know, the more you can do. That is a quality signing that clearly Rand Carthon knows about this young man. Mm-hmm. And, some things are starting. They're more active in free agency than I thought they would be, but there's value in what they're doing.
Yes. It's like they're picking through things, what is it, with a fine tooth or whatever they
Fine
call it.
tooth
Fine-tooth
Yeah,
comb.
fine tooth comb. And they're like, okay, what can we get in terms of this guy and value? Like, they're not just saying, oh, that's the hot guy on the market. That's the big name on the market. It looks like they're, and this is how it should be done, going through and seeing, okay, what really can we get out of this guy? And how versatile can this guy be in that position?
Sure. Well, it's like and I haven't seen numbers for Brunskill, which, by the way, is the last 5 letters of his name, Skill. That tells you what I need to know along the
Like
offensive
that.
line.
Sold.
But the Arden Key numbers that are being reported, friendly deal, because I mean he signed a 1-year deal with the Jaguars last year for $4 million, and this is really his first significant payday, and has earned it. And I think it's a great pairing to go with Harold Landry in this deal, and that it's starting to shape up as you're seeing what they're doing. And then the linebacker, I mean, he's made some moves here.
Yeah.
So reported moves, I should say. They'll be official this afternoon at 3.
Azeez Al-Shaair, the linebacker from San Francisco, who we will dive more into. He's got a crazy story.
I
don't know
saw
how
that,
much
Will.
y'all read into his past, and a
Yeah.
guy that was in his house when his grandmother's house burned down and carried his 3 of his siblings out of a burning house after he was asleep. A guy with an unbelievable story coming from Tampa Bay and Florida Atlantic who, with all of the challenges he had growing up, was likely going to go somewhere like Miami, Wisconsin, who is interested in him because of his grades, because of some of the challenges there, just stayed closer to home and went to Florida Atlantic, but went from 6'1", 180 pounds when he got to Florida Atlantic to becoming a legit linebacker in the National Football League who is as athletic as any linebacker there is. I mean, literally a heat-seeking missile at that position in the run game.
And a guy who had some starts early on in his career there and then got behind a log jam of talent as they've been trying to make a run for the last 3-4 seasons. Like that signing. There are a lot who are already saying that is a potential upgrade over the departed David Long. And I will say this, Azeez, he don't like it. Rock the Casbah. Rock the Casbah. That's all I have to say.
I love that. We might have to
my
have that
goodness.
somewhere in the show today. I also wanted to add, it is interesting because, like I said, when you're going through and you're trying to find the right fit with a new GM and he's putting in his input with Mike Vrabel, clearly they're getting some guys too, and you look at Andre Dillard, the same as Azeez, it's guys that maybe didn't have their chance yet. Like there's flashes enough to see the talent, but they just haven't had their chance to be that starter consistently because of people in front of them or getting beat out at certain positions because of an injury.
Well,
So-
Kayla, you make a great point. And in the case of Andre Dillard, he had starts his rookie year, but that's been a minute ago. And Jordan Mailata comes out as a 7th rounder, and he's an outlier in this and is the rare opportunity where you get a 7th round pick. It was a starting left tackle. That just doesn't happen every day.
Yeah.
And so, but he has been very serviceable in his opportunities for them. And clearly, when they started having some injury issues last year as the season got later on, he played right guard.
Yeah.
Anyway, like that's why I say there's value in what they're doing. They haven't broken the bank and all this. And some of the national people are saying about Andre Dillard's projected numbers, it's like, that's a lot of money. I'm like, but if he's starting left tackle, it's cheap.
Right.
And it's a short deal, an opportunity to prove himself and get another payday. So, which is what I think will probably happen with Lamar Jackson this afternoon. I feel the more I think about it, somebody's going to make him an offer. You saw his tweet yesterday.
Right.
Yeah.
And he'd be smart to take what he tweeted about a 3-year, 133 guaranteed, because he can go make money again in 2 years.
Yep.
But yeah, I like what Rand Carthon has been reported to be doing right here. And in terms of the offensive line part of it, well, it really needs overall because he's plugging, Azeez Al-Shaair back in, as an inside linebacker. But he's not leaving a ton of needs to the draft so far,
Yeah.
especially on the offensive line.
Which makes it interesting.
It makes it very interesting.
On today's show, we chat with Josh Ward, our friend from the Sports Animal in Knoxville, at 8:20 on game day eve for the Tennessee basketball Volunteers. Good game last night between Mississippi and Pittsburgh, Mississippi State and Pittsburgh, starting off the tournament, as well as the 16 seed play-in game to play Alabama, which was a solid one last night. 2 more in the first 4 coming up tonight as well in the wonderful basketballing city of Dayton, Ohio. And John Glennon will join us at 9:20 as well this morning as we dive into all of the moves made yesterday by the Titans, the 3 former 49ers in Brunskill, Key, and Al-Shaair, with plenty to discuss across the league as well with some other big moves made. And Aaron Rodgers still just running other franchises despite the fact that he hasn't even been traded to such franchises yet.
With a wish list? Dude, who do you
Aaron
think?
Rodgers.
Exactly. That's going to be over maybe about 20 today is the over.
You, Aaron
Please.
Rodgers.
I mean,
It's a new low.
who in the hell do you think you are?
Yeah.
Dude, stop.
He think he's
You,
Roger
Aaron
Goodell,
Rodgers.
I guess.
That's 3. So we're well on our way. But I saw that yesterday. I almost ran off the road. I'm like, what is this, dude? What are you doing?
And he's like,
Watch him retire now, too.
that's what I was just going to say. He's like, I'm going to be holding a press conference on Pat McAfee's show at 1 p.m. Everybody tune in. It's like he really is the puppet master right now. Like everybody is just like, whoa, okay, Aaron Rodgers.
Crazy.
It's ridiculous.
615-737-1045 is our number. And coming up next, we dive deeper into the 3 players the Tennessee Titans reportedly added yesterday. Daniel Brunskill played 518 snaps last year. He allowed the same amount of penalties as he did sacks. And Titans fans are going to like what they have to hear about him. Coming up next on Ramon, Kayla, and Will, 1045 The Zone. Hey, it's Will Bowling. Do your challenges having conversation keep you on the sidelines when having dinner with family or friends? Well, if so, I want to tell you about my friends at Brentwood Hearing Center. For almost 40 years, their doctors of audiology have provided tailored solutions to patients of all ages. Hearing loss knows no age, and sometimes folks wait several years to address their hearing challenges. Well, my friends at Brentwood Hearing Center represent several different styles and manufacturers, so they can find just the right hearing solution for you because they know there is no cookie cutter approach to better hearing. So let the madness be on the court and not in the boardroom, at dinner with friends at a crowded restaurant, or listening to those precious sounds of children or grandchildren. Give my friends at Brentwood Hearing Center a call at 615-377-0420 or visit them online at BrentwoodHearingCenter.com. They've got a convenient location right off of I-65 at the Brentwood Old Hickory exit, 615-377-0420. Find out what sounds you've been missing and visit them online at BrentwoodHearingCenter.com. They'll get you off the bench and back in the game. That's Brentwood Hearing Center. Better hearing, better life. Hour number 1, getting rolling on a Wednesday morning. It's about Kayla and Will, powered by All Four Seasons Garage Doors, with special guest host Rhett Bryan. Going to hear from what Titans radio draft coverage and Titans radio draft expert Mike Detillier had to say on Arden Key when he was drafted in the 2018 NFL Draft in Philadelphia, Pennsylvania. Coming up in just a couple of minutes, but lots to dive into with 3 prospects, all with San Francisco 49ers ties, and a couple of other news and notes and headlines this morning, including 2 minutes ago from Jonathan Jones of CBS Sports.
Yes.
Reporting that the Tennessee Titans are placing a second-round tender on restricted free agent defensive tackle Teair Tart. There you go.
Tart.
That's what I figured they would do because that's the one guy they don't want to get away, who you can still sign for value. Teair has proven himself. And, you know, there was a place where if you listen to Mike Vrabel, 2021, he's still kind of finding his way, and he would kind of throw a jab at him here and there. He began to speak highly of him the later it got into 2022. And good for him. Teair's a great dude, very funny guy, and has worked his rear end off to get to this point. And, yeah, you don't want to let him slip out the door with an offer sheet that somebody could, you know, make a higher bid for you in this thing without making somebody pay. So second rounder, and I'm not saying somebody wouldn't do that to give him a second rounder, but more likely keeps him as a Titan in 2023.
Yeah.
The other news, I don't know if y'all saw this late last night as well, from Terry McCormick, who writes on MainStreetMedia.com last night that the Titans will not tender restricted free agent wide receiver Nick Westbrook-Akine, which surprised me a little bit.
Yes. Now, I wouldn't have expected a high a tender as what they're doing reportedly with Teair Tart.
Sure.
But I thought they would do something. But maybe that's an exploratory, let him go out and see what's what. Because let's face it, other than the reported deal with Alan Lazard with the Jets, there hasn't been a whole lot of movement in the wide receiver part of this.
Right.
In fact, there's
still a bunch out there.
Man, there's a bunch of big names that could fall today.
DJ Chark still sitting there too.
I'm just looking at big names overall. Orlando Brown, Zeus Jr. is still sitting there. Chauncey Gardner-Johnson, Odell Beckham Jr. has had a workout that apparently has people interested again. Adam Thielen, I think, has a visit to the Carolina Panthers today. Linebacker Levante David from the Bucs, Jordan Poyer, the safety from the Bills, Bobby Wagner is still out there, Dalton Schultz, the tight end of the Cowboys, Juju Smith-Schuster, and the aforementioned Mike Gesicki yesterday.
That's what I was just going to say. I think Gesicki's
that's some good vets right there.
There's some big names. So you see maybe today some of those guys go.
Yeah, some of those will go. I could certainly see Orlando Brown going today, Chauncey Gardner-Johnson, just because of their positions and you know how much those things are always needed. But that is interesting that he's reporting they're not tendering NWI.
Yeah, that was a surprise to me, just with how much of a Swiss Army knife that guy is. And really, when you look at all of the needs this team has this offseason, wide receiver now is the only one of the A-list needs that they haven't already addressed.
And you got to have somebody. I mean, you've
and
got Kyle Phillips possibly coming back.
Yeah.
But he's got to stay healthy. I mean, there's just not depth at all. There's not even a 2 and 3 clearly.
Well, and if that proves true, that is a thing and they have not tendered him, you know, it may show you that, you know, they may be looking at a different direction. I don't know because we don't know. Rand Carthon's been on the ground here for what, a month and a half, you know, so we're just going to have to kind of see how this plays out.
615-737-1045, our number this morning. The first guy I want to dive into here is the last one who was signed reportedly last night in defensive lineman Arden Key. 3-year, $21 million deal with a max value of $24 million. that includes $13 million fully guaranteed at signing. After 4.5 sacks with the Jaguars last season, 6.5 sacks a few years ago with the San Francisco 49ers, which were a career high. This was back in 2018 in the Titans Radio NFL Draft coverage. Mike Detillier and his thoughts on Arden Key.
I think he's the biggest intrigue of any player in the 2018 draft class. A year ago this time, he was a top 3 or 4 pick on every draft board. Great pass rusher and great pass rush potential, huge wingspan, tremendous cut-the-corner skills, solid in run support, a lot more than people give him credit for. And I watched him play every game.
6'5", 238 pounds, arms 33.5, hands 10 inches. So his wing is pretty good. I think it's around 80 inches. Did not run a 40 at the combine that year. I'll have to go find it from his pro day, but a 31-inch vertical leap, 9.9 broad jump, 3-cone drill, 7.16, 20-yard shuttle 4.25. And you're talking about a guy who has had production as of late. So in the past 2 seasons, 90 quarterback pressures, 11 quarterback sacks, 14.6% pressure, ties for 17th amongst edge rushers. And that's, with him getting some limited working spaces in that time. So,
Bless you.
This, thank you. Bad timing. This goes back to the
from
Titans.
Lithonia, Georgia.
Nice.
Also,
Yeah.
Kevin Byard,
There you go.
That's
who
right.
spent time growing up in Lithonia, Georgia.
14 sacks, 98 tackles, 18 for a loss, and 58 quarterback hits in his career. Titans just continue to sign really good athletes. And this guy has got a good mix of speed and strength.
Well, speed to power is his game off the edge.
and
Go
we-
look at week 18.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I was going to say there was a negative highlight centered around one former Titans left tackle fill-in, which you've now addressed your depth at
71, I believe.
that position at this point. But now that can become a positive highlight to watch back. Josh Dobbs is running for his life. He knows who Arden Key is because of Week 18.
And maybe if Josh Dobbs does return to the Titans, he'll be happy to have him on his side this time. But no,
Yes.
I think this is good. And Rhett brought up the point about maybe what have you done lately? We've talked about some of these players that are hopefully going to get a second chance at proving themselves. This is really encouraging just for the fact that he's been productive recently. I really love to see that because then you're able to really just plug him in. Like you said, Harold Landry returning. This is a position you've got to have production right away. Like, they want to carry over what they've put together the last 2 seasons on that line. And I know last year was up and down because of injuries, but this seems to be a really good fit. Like you said, the athleticism is a big part of it. And familiarity, obviously, Rand Carthon continues to have with some of these guys that are Niners. But I in a way like that because, first of all, the Niners have been very successful.
That's the first one.
Right?
Go ahead.
And second of all, this is okay when you have guys that you trust. And it seems like because he was involved in the process a little bit at least, I would hope, when you're bringing players into, a new franchise with the Niners, that you get to kind of know these guys. And Rand is that kind of guy. He gets to know these guys. He's not just a surface level GM. Everybody I've talked to over there that works for the Niners says he gets to know these players personally.
Yeah, he's not walking past you in the hall going, how's it going? And
Yes.
not really caring about what you're saying with how's it going, right? So, and he's a guy, been playing on a large scale, high platform for a long time. Think about this. I'm reading his thumbnail coming out of college in 2018. An Atlanta, Georgia product, top 25 recruit nationally, had 15.5 sacks as a senior in high school. Key is the sort of long, wiry end/linebacker hybrid rusher for which LSU has become well known. He started the final 9 games of his true freshman year, playing in 12 contests total, 41 tackles, 6.5 for loss, 5 sacks, and a team-high 9 quarterback hurries. There's the hurries we were talking about, 90 pressures in the last 2 years, which is something he and Jeff could feast on in this thing. Plus, we're getting Harold Landry back. The promise continued to be fulfilled his sophomore year when he used his agility, speed, and extreme length to earn second team SEC All SEC honors as a full-time starter, racking up 12 sacks, 14 and a half tackles for loss among his 56 stops, along with 3 forced fumbles. Took some time away from the program during the spring of 2017 for personal reasons, but returned in the summer. Had shoulder surgery in the offseason, which caused him to miss the Tigers' first 2 games. Also missed time with a finger injury, which meant he only started 8 games on the year, which is why he slid in that 2018 draft to the Raiders. And I think he ended up being a 3rd rounder, I think. So
it's a good move. And honestly, when you describe him and looking at his size, his speed, and just the overall skill set in the toolbox for Arden Key, he sounds like a more polished, now 26-year-old version of Tennessee's Byron Young, who's essentially coming out of the NFL draft at this point.
I can understand that comparison.
Maturation.
Yes.
A little bit bigger guy who's a little bit of a hybrid between a 4-3 defensive end and a 3-4 outside linebacker, who for the Titans, I imagine, will play parts of both roles. I mean, essentially, this sounds like another Danico Autry kind of piece that you could have on your defense. A little bit different from Autry, but
you're getting it from an AFC South opponent.
Exactly.
So I really like that part.
I like that part a lot.
You try this for twice a year there, Trevor Lawrence.
That's right.
See how you like that. Have you
with
some of
it.
that. And I could tell you right now, Arden Key is the kind of ball player that Mike Vrabel likes. That's what he's looking for. That is a prime example of what Rand Carthon said the day he was introduced and what he's continued to say throughout his appearances when he's talked to us, that I'm just trying to get him what he needs, what he wants. That's a Mike Vrabel player that I think Mike Vrabel definitely likes to bring into the fold.
And that was my response to all 3 of these guys. And really, that was my original. I even wrote that down when it was only Azeez Al-Shaair who had been signed by the Titans, a guy that went undrafted in 2019. So I'll go ahead and fill in what Ramon Foster would say right now, which is yes, as he's going to probably be really happy about that.
It just means more.
That's right. And then had an expanded role as a starting linebacker 2 years later, played the 2022 season on a $3.9 million deal, and the 26-year-old, or soon-to-be 26-year-old in August, Al-Shaair, over the last 2 seasons, I'll fist bump that there's a 25-year-old in town, has been an integral part of a linebacker trio in San Francisco, which I think this part, Rhett, specifically is interesting because you're moving from a 4-3 base defense in San Francisco to, I mean, really, the Titans are a 3-4 defense in name here, but
multiplicity.
It's almost more of just a base nickel set this team is often in. It's maybe closer to a 4-2-5. Sometimes than it really is in a 3-4. Played all 3 of those linebacker spots, working primarily on the strong side, 57 games in 4 seasons with 199 tackles, 2 sacks, 2 forced fumbles, 3 fumble recoveries, and 2 interceptions. Reading a lot of the scouting reports on him, it sounds like the coverage part of his game is the part that he's got to round out a little bit more in order to be an every down inside linebacker. I still think there is a need for the Titans at inside linebacker. I think you're looking at a situation where this team wants to have 3 guys splitting those 2 positions in the middle of that defense. And I could even see Al-Shaair in certain scenarios playing outside linebacker for this team off the edge too.
Well, it's something that David Long had to learn when he was here. He was a see ball, get ball guy at West Virginia. So what I really like about these signings when you're looking at now Brunskill is a little older. I think he's 30. Right. But these 2 gentlemen, Arden Key and Azeez Al-Shaair, you're talking about 2 young guys who have played at a big stage now in at the NFL level, but are in their prime. That's what we're talking
25,
about.
26.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
No,
that's
right.
what I like.
I like that too.
You get to a guy in year 3, 4, 5 in there. That's why free agency is such a big deal. That's why it's going to go bananas at 3 o'clock today. Now, a lot of it's going to be confirmation of what's been reported, but there's going to be some moves today.
I liked, in terms of Azeez, I thought it was interesting. I had read an article about his former teammate, Fred Warner, and Fred Warner saying high praises for this young man. I'm talking about said, I want to actually see you potentially go somewhere where you can be that guy. And be that guy all the time. I think that says a lot about a dude that's Fred Warner type of talent, saying this about Azeez and saying like, hey, look, I just want you to go be the dude somewhere. Because here, it might not be able to happen at a starting rate. So I just thought that was really interesting. High praise from a guy like that.
And cares enough about his teammate that he wants to see him flourish, even if it's painfully in another market and another team.
Yep.
Daniel Brunskill in 2022 with the San Francisco 49ers played 518 snaps. He had the same amount of penalties and sacks allowed. 0.
Hello.
Last year.
Pretty good.
That sounds good.
He is.
good.
He went along the line and played every position for the 49ers in his stint there.
And he was playing
Quarterbacks
for the San
protected.
Diego Fleet in 2019.
Yeah, I
in
saw
the
that.
AAF. Again, Ramon Foster is going to love that. You've got another chip on the shoulder, had to grind through it a little bit. Interior offensive
Yeah, because wasn't
lineman.
he in Atlanta before that? Didn't he have
was.
a cup of coffee with Atlanta?
He did. Yep.
So, see, I mean, I'm telling you, man, there's something. And Ramon, I know he says it a lot on this show, but he ain't wrong. It just means more. I've noticed it in the long time that I've been covering the Titans. And I've got nothing against the guy who gets drafted first round. He has no control over that, and great. But the guys that have to claw their way in, I don't know. It just seems like there's something extra in their DNA to make it work. They have to fight. It's survival.
Oh, yeah. They don't know anything else, right? And you always want, it can be taken away from you. We had Tony Kemp on the show a couple of weeks ago, and he's been one of those guys that's had to scrap for every bit of his career. And he said, I know any day I could wake up and it's taken away from me, especially when you're a guy who wasn't like a first round dude that has all the natural talent.
And here's the thing about, the guys I'm describing. You may have been the big fish in your pond in high school and maybe even in college, and then you get to the NFL and it's like, well, I didn't get a phone call? Mm-hmm. What in the world?
Right. 615-737-1045 is our number. And when we come back, the Indianapolis Colts have traded away one veteran contributor, and they've released Nathaniel. The end of the Nathaniel Ryan era officially in Indy. We take a look across the AFC South. Coming up next on our boat, Kayla and Will, 104.5 The Zone.
The Indianapolis Colts.
It's Kayla Anderson with our friends from Old School Vapor. Now, as a person who works out a lot, I get up in the morning sometimes in my 30s and I'm like, oh man, I've got the aches and pains, including this morning. And guess what? I know how to deal with that every day because I found Old School Vapor, and they are hands down the most knowledgeable when it comes to helping get relief. Now, Ramon also uses Old School Vapor's great products because he's a former athlete. He's got those aches and pains too. He's actually been in one of their amazing facilities, and soon as you walk in, there's someone to guide you in the right direction. Super friendly, and if you're a pet owner, you're going to absolutely love this because they have so many choices for your fur babies, big or small. Maybe they have separation anxiety. Maybe you travel with your fur babies. You need them to be a little bit calmer. You can check out Old School Vapor for their selection for your fur babies. Go and shop Old School Vapor's selection of over 200 legal CBD products. They've got all the brands, folks: Looper, Torch, Hidden Hills, and much more. You can also go ahead and check out, if you're into Elf bars, 100 authentic flavors. Check them out on Instagram. You can just Google them if you want. It's really easy. Just put in Old School Vapor, and they've got plenty of locations, 4 to be exact: Franklin, both ends of Spring Hill and Columbia, and there's much more to come. That is Old School Vapor, our friends. And remember, these products contain nicotine, which is an addictive chemical, must be 21 years or older to purchase, and no sales to minors.
Wrapping up Hour 1 this morning on our Mode Kayla and Will, powered by All Four Seasons Garage Doors. And hand raised, I just got on Twitter.
Uh-oh.
Adam Schefter with a tweet that I'm just going to read it word for word.
Okay.
Aaron Rodgers signed his contract extension with the Packers 1 year ago today.
Oh.
And I read the whole tweet and it was like, wait, whoa, what? Oh, no.
Powder dry. Keep it that way.
We care a lot less about that story since we're not a national radio show, but still, it is still a domino.
Well, let me say this.
that
At least you didn't fall prey to like or a retweet of someone who used the same avatar, and it makes it look like it's it's Adam Schefter.
I've done that.
Yeah, I mean,
time.
you have to, before you do anything, go and look and see. Oh, he's got 10 million followers. Okay, we're good.
I did that like 3 years ago, and it was just a busy day. And I was like doing 3 things at once, and then realized,
got to take a millisecond to just look.
Yeah.
It just takes a split second, and then you're like, okay, we're good. Retweet.
I'm not going to lie to you.
When
A.J. Brown got traded, the text from Schefter was sent to me, and I checked it 3 times to make sure it wasn't fake before I interacted with it whatsoever.
Right.
Well,
that especially.
Sorry to bring that up before 7 a.m. on
that was a
Wednesday.
wild night.
Yeah, it was.
We were doing our draft show at a season ticket member event at the Grand Hyatt. And at some point before the draft started, we got word from Mike that this might be a thing, so hang on. And then just moments before it became public, we went to a commercial break, and he huddled up and he said, okay, I've gotten information that this is going to be a thing. And sure enough, we came back from break, and it was getting close to the area where Philadelphia had that pick. And the crowd there, you could hear these mumbles and hush, and it was odd. It was odd.
Definitely.
It went sideways a little quick.
Well, yesterday, the Indianapolis Colts became sellers, answering really a big question mark for the Dallas Cowboys, who've been pretty quiet, but made their big splash yesterday, acquiring corner Stephon Gilmore from the Colts for a 5th-round draft pick. Cowboys giving up pick number 176, which is one of the 2 5th-round compensatory picks they earned last week in exchange for Gilmore, who is entering the final year of his contract at a base salary of $7.9 million. The Cowboys also reportedly bringing back Leighton Vander Esch on a 2-year deal worth $11 million, which that seems like a really low price for that guy.
Kind of does.
Hadn't Leighton Vander Esch been dinged up some of the last couple of years, though?
He has. Still a good player when he is available, but you're right.
No question.
Stephon Gilmore was still pretty good last year, and now you add him into a secondary who has Trayvon Diggs, who's made the Pro Bowl for each of the last 2 seasons. Deron Bland, who led the Cowboys with 5 picks in 2023, primarily playing in the slot.
Wasn't he a 5th-round pick?
He was.
Yeah.
He was a late guy. Because I remember when we scouted the Cowboys going into Thursday Night Football back in December, that was the guy that we discussed of like, hey, household name that you haven't really heard of yet in Dallas.
Right.
Yep.
Man, if the Dallas Cowboys weren't the Dallas Cowboys, I'd think they had a shot this year.
I mean, you thought
Because
they had
really
a shot last year.
I have
not
your
that
answer.
bad.
Jerry Jones.
Exactly.
As long
as he's there,
as he is the general manager, he is so invested in that. And listen, for you, for the love of your team and your investment, and great. But when it gets to be to a fault, that's a problem. And I'm telling you.
Yeah, I've been saying that.
He won't let
for
the coaches
years.
do their thing. He won't let as long as he's doing that, the Cowboys are going to keep doing Cowboy things.
Well, that's the thing. They continue to add guys every offseason, and there's big names they continue to add. That secondary, you could argue, was maybe the weakest link on that really good defense last year. Well, now they're shoring that up. Okay, so where are the holes now this year? And then, it also goes back to Dak Prescott. Can he get it done at the quarterback position for you? I mean, there's just always
they're
something.
paying Zeke Elliott a whole lot of money. Tony Pollard, they franchise tagged despite tearing ligaments in his leg late in the year, which I hated to see that because he's really good back. And, CeeDee Lamb, Michael Gallup, they lost Noah Brown. Noah Brown went to the Houston Texans yesterday, reportedly.
That's right.
So, but yeah, and Indianapolis freed up more money by another move.
Matt Ryan officially cut.
There it is.
Thank you. I guess not official yet, but planning to release the veteran quarterback before he is due a $10 million roster bonus on Friday in a move that will clear $17 million in cap space.
So they ended up making those two moves, and it's going to clear up like $23 million in space. Don't like that part of it.
Enough to pay their new premium kicker in Matt Gay.
There you go.
Wow.
We do like that part of it.
Yeah, obviously 4-12-1. The Colts. Ryan was benched on 2 occasions, and the number 31 scoring offense of the NFL is now officially looking for a quarterback. We touched on this yesterday. If there's anybody who I think makes the most sense to kick the tires on Lamar Jackson, it's the Indianapolis Colts.
That's what makes the Lamar Jackson thing so intriguing. Is that might end up being a spot, because think about Baltimore. Baltimore is all of a sudden sitting there with number 2.
Yep.
I think they'd be okay.
If we think it's C.J. Stroud going to Carolina, you still got 3 quarterbacks you could try.
Right.
And Frank Reich, who played the position and is your head coach. I mean, and it just depends on what we've just been talking about with Jerry Jones, because the way I understand it, David Tepper is a little too hands-on in Carolina.
Yeah, I've heard that.
So we'll see.
He is with all their franchises.
Yeah. Is this a situation with Lamar, too, that today officially he is able to start
at 3
negotiating or talking or whatever?
Yep. Because he is his own agent.
Yep.
And you cannot talk directly to the players until 3 o'clock today. Teams will be able to talk with him because he is his own agent, and that process can begin.
Had he had an agent, we might already have a deal in place for him.
I would agree.
So be interesting to watch that today.
615-737-1045 our number. We'll reset the 3 additions the Titans reportedly made yesterday when we come back. Take a look around the league at other big moves going on already this morning, and much more as hour 2 begins on the other side. It's Ramon, Kayla, and Will, 104.5 The Zone.
You, Aaron Rodgers.
It's Ramon Foster for Window Nation. If you've been noticing, energy costs have been rising, right? Well, nationwide, they're up 14%, and it's not too late to fix your high energy bills, all while getting off-season prices from Window Nation. Beat the rush with 2 free windows with every 2 you buy. Plus, pay 0 down, make 0 payments, and get 0% financing for 24 months. That's 2 years of paying nothing. Call 866-90Nation or go online at windownation.com. And this is the best thing about Window Nation. You can trust them. The average installer has over 16 years of experience with over 20,000 windows installed. And if your windows are sticky, draft, crack, hard to open the locker when you close them, you need new windows. The longer you have old, drafty windows, the more money you are wasting on your heating bills. Over time, Window Nation has saved their customers over $60 million on their energy bills, and this is why. 43% of your utility bill is heating costs. You can save up to 30% on your heating bills by switching to Window Nation windows and increase the value of your home by up to $12,000 and get a federal tax credit up to $500. Again, you heard me. Get 2 windows free with every 2 you buy. You pay 0 down, make 0 payments, and get 0% financing for 24 months. Yes, count that up. That's 2 whole years of paying nothing. Simply call 866-90Nation or go online at windownation.com.
It is 7:02. Good morning. I'm Jonathan Schaefer from the Superbook.com sports desk. The Titans have addressed some of their offseason needs by reportedly coming to terms with defensive end Arden Key, linebacker Azeez Al-Shaair, and offensive lineman Daniel Brunskill. For Key, a 3-year, $21 million deal with a max value of $24 million includes $13 million fully guaranteed at signing. According to Jonathan Jones of CBS Sports, the Titans will place a second-round tender on restricted free agent Tier Tart. And according to Terry McCormick of Titans Insider, the Titans will not place a tender on Nick Westbrook-Akine, which would allow NWI to become a free agent at 3 o'clock today. The first two of the first four NCAA tournament games last night, which were heard right here on The Zone. Texas A&M Corpus Christi over Southeast Missouri State 75-71. Pittsburgh defeated Mississippi State 60-59. Fairleigh Dickinson takes on Texas Southern. We will join that game in progress following 3HL tonight. Then that will be followed by Nevada versus Arizona State. NIT Vanderbilt defeated Yale 71-62 at Memorial Gym. Tyron Lawrence, a game-high 25 points. NHL Predators 2, Red Wings 1. The Preds have won 3 in a row. For all your foundation repair and waterproofing needs, visit USSTN.com. Breaking news at once on your home for the Titans and the Vols. This is 104.5 The Zone.
Into hour number 2 this morning as the Wednesday morning edition of Ramon, Kayla, and Will continues. And it's powered by All Four Seasons Garage Doors. Coming up this morning, Josh Ward from the Sports Animal in Knoxville talks Tennessee and Louisiana basketball. John Glennon at 9:20 hits the headlines of the Titans free agent market as the free agent window officially opens today at 3 p.m. And I would imagine, guys, that everything that we've discussed, every move that has been made will be official by about 3:01.
Yes.
For a lot of teams.
Stamped. Approved.
Alongside Rhett Bryan, Kayla Anderson, and Jonathan Schaefer, our producer.
The best producer in the world.
I'm Will Bowling. We'll get Ramon Foster's thoughts next week on Daniel Brunskill, the newest offensive lineman for the Tennessee Titans. And, guys, clearly a priority for Mike Vrabel, Rand Carthon, and the Titans organization to emphasize offensive line depth and versatility after the year they had this past year.
I mean, I think that's the message everywhere on this roster, considering what they've been through in the last 2 years injury-wise, but certainly a point of emphasis with the offensive line. The more I read about Daniel Brunskill, I'm like, yep, like this guy.
Mm-hmm.
The more you can do.
And that's the key we've been talking about, just when you're kind of refreshing an organization, whatever our words you want to use. As I know there's been rebuild, refresh, refurbish. You could say whatever you want.
Reset, reclaim,
revamp.
Yes.
Revamp.
There's a lot of them. I looked them up.
Reclaim the AFC South.
Yeah, but versatility is always a thing that's just so beneficial. And I know some people out there, some fans are saying, well, these aren't really starters. Well,
hang on a second.
I'd have to kind of argue with you about that, just because of the way that they were put into some of these roles or what's happened in their career to push them back a little. Like, we all go through these things. Not everybody has a clean-cut path, and they're going to have consistency the whole time. It's about what you can do with those players, how you think they can fit into your system, your organization, and how you think you can get the most out of them. And that's what I believe these guys that they're adding are. I mean, they're not just making these decisions lightly, guys. They know what's in store this year. They know that there's a little bit of rebuilding. Rand Carthon knows he's the new guy on the block. And, we're going to break down every single decision they make. Mm-hmm. They know that. So give them a little credit when it comes to going out and seeking these guys, because they might not be the biggest names, but they see something in them that's going to help this team.
Well, for anyone who's skeptical, Titans fans or otherwise, to your point, Kayla, their mortgages are riding on this. Their livelihood is riding on this. Mike Vrabel, Rand Carthon, and it's easy for us to look through whatever, but until you've done it with your paycheck riding on it, like we can say things and it doesn't really have a whole lot of consequence. But when you're in their world, I mean, that's a whole different ballgame, pun intended.
Like I was just going to say, right?
So I had more time to read up on Arden Key last night because I told you guys I made a mistake last night, and I found a piece of content that I think you'll appreciate. That I enjoyed. So I opened the show. I haven't talked about it yet on air, but I told you all before the show. I've started to start scrolling TikTok more.
Oh,
Typically
baby.
not a great thing, but my algorithm now only gives me clips from Whose Line Is It Anyway?
Great show.
On my TikTok.
BBC version best, though.
And that's good to know.
Yeah.
And literally last night, Ryan Stiles and Colin Mockery were just telling me jokes, and Wayne Brady for like 2 hours because I drank a soft drink with caffeine in it, like at 7:30.
Smart.
Not my smartest decision.
Nope.
Usually caffeine doesn't have that big of an effect on me. So I got added time last night when the Titans were making some late night moves.
You were up.
Reportedly.
Yeah, this was the sound of Will.
That's
Yeah.
right. So I was drinking my second favorite soft drink, for anyone who knows me.
Okay.
So my two favorite soft drinks are both regional. Number
Yes,
one
ginger ale.
always is Ale 81, which is only sold in Kentucky. It was made in the 1920s by G.L. Wainscott in the Bluegrass
I've
State.
seen Ale 81. Yeah, I know what you're talking about. Yes.
It's ginger ale with a touch of heaven. It's like a citrus ginger ale.
Yeah, that's good.
And it's only sold in Kentucky and select other grocery stores. No free shout-outs now in Tennessee.
Okay.
The other one is Cheerwine.
I knew it was Cheerwine.
That
Wait,
is my
Cheerwine?
absolute
Cheerwine.
You don't know
Cheerwine's
I
big
don't
time.
know about Cheerwine.
Yeah.
Update me.
So, if I'm not mistaken, that's a Carolinas thing, right?
Yes.
okay.
And if you go to any of the
Cookout.
restaurants, which are located near every
Oh, yes.
campus in the world,
Yes.
they have Cheerwine on tap right there for you to go.
Is it
Kayla,
cherry?
You can get a Cheerwine on the way
Yeah,
home
it's-
from here.
You can get it at any
Really?
Yeah,
supermarket.
The
Cookout's like-
cookout's right there.
yeah, just
I
4
drive
blocks
past
away.
it.
It's
yeah.
really, I recommend
Okay, I love
Cheerwine.
cherry.
It is.
So-
It's good.
Okay.
It is essentially a cherry
Gotta
Dr.
check
Pepper.
it. Oh yeah, I'm
It
here for it.
is,
Here for
to
it.
use a Will Ferrell line, scrumtrilescent.
Let's do this.
So
It is so
was
good.
worth it.
It makes you smile. It's cheer wine.
What's that word again?
I like the wine part too.
So
Scrumtrilescent. Phrasing.
perfect.
I'm just quoting the man.
So the thing that I would always do at cookout in college, which any time it
You got
was
to get
like
a cookout tray, baby.
absolutely you get a cookout tray.
Yep.
You do the burger, corn dog, fries, and a Cheerwine float.
Oh,
Okay.
look at you getting fancy.
With the ice cream.
Yeah.
That was like at the end of every chapter meeting in my fraternity, at the end of every football game, end of everything. It was like cookout.
Oh, Will likes him some cheer wine.
The guys
with
I
a little
lived with
soft serve ice cream.
on my floor in the fraternity house, we had a cookout look where
What do you
I could give a look to my
Okay.
friends and they would be like, "So you want to go to cookout?" It's like, "Yeah, I do." Thank
What
you.
was the look? This is an
Just like
audio medium, but a very open-eyed.
Like literally at the end of chapter meeting, one guy would yell in the chapter room, just like, "Cookout, cookout."
All right. Basically, that look sounds like
Yeah. Who wants to go?
So good. The corn dog was what really brought it all together. Sometimes I would add chicken tenders.
I was going to say the cookout tray is legendary because you can literally make a chicken quesadilla one of your sides.
Yes.
Like that sounds.
If you wanted French fries
Intense.
and hush puppies,
God
you can do
bless.
that.
that I could get dangerous.
By the way,
with
the
tray.
concretes and the shakes there, magnifique.
It's more, the shakes are more like a DQ Blizzard than they are a milkshake.
So they've got chunks. If you're gonna,
They
do
give you a
it.
spoon.
Yeah, I like
Yeah.
that.
It's ice cream.
Okay.
2 hot dogs, mustard relish,
Ooh.
cheese curds,
Ooh.
chicken nuggets as the sides, and the Cheerwine.
The cheese curds there are
Dang.
terrific. That's Jonathan Schaefer knows ball.
I'd like a banana pudding shake, please.
I don't get out ordered very often.
You were a ball knower.
And it's open late.
Oh, it's
So-
it's open
Phrasing?
24 hours.
Oh, it's 24 hours?
Not in Knoxville because there's a
Like
like
the
a,
one here in Nashville, 24 hours?
yeah. I think
think
Oh,
so.
you're kidding.
Oh,
I
I
thought
didn't
it
know
was
that.
just late night.
I've partaken.
Man.
There's like a state law where if you are certain like proximity away from a public institution, in Tennessee, you can't be open for 24 hours. So Cookout in Knoxville closes for like 2 hours. It's closed from 4 to 6 a.m., and then it opens back.
Cleaning duty.
Okay, the one on West End is 10:30 a.m. to either 4 or 5 a.m.
Yeah.
Okay, same kind of thing.
But
That's the
pretty
same thing.
much. Yeah.
Which maybe that applies to Vandy, too. Since it's so close to
Right.
Vandy, I don't know if
So-
it can be
Sure.
open.
So no breakfast.
Okay.
That's why there's not a Waffle House on the Strip in Knoxville, because that's been a big push. Actually,
That's
one
crazy.
of my friends was like the leader of literally like a campaign of bring Waffle House to Knoxville, bring Waffle House to the Strip, and it can't happen because they would have to be like they can't be 24 hours.
I did not know that, actually. That the more
Yep.
you know, I learned that today.
Are you going to tell us about Arden Key on the other side? Because, I mean,
Well, I was up late reading about
Maybe
it.
Arden
I
likes
can now.
Waffle House.
hear story time from Will Bowling.
Well, no,
about
I was up late
Arden
watching
Key.
Whose Line Is It Anyway clips because I couldn't go to sleep because I drank a cheer wine right before I went to bed.
We'll get distracted.
Colin Mockery and Ryan Stiles. Those guys were on the original BBC version of Whose Line. In fact, that's the first place I ever saw Chip Eston.
Oh,
Yeah.
no
He was on
kidding.
there
Oh,
30
yeah.
Nashville
years
guy?
ago.
Last
Yes.
year?
And I'm telling you, BBC version, fantastic.
I'll have to check
Hello,
that
this is
one
Clive
out.
Anderson saying good night, good night.
Oh, so good. That was when, oh, goodness sakes. What's his name? The guy that hosts Prices Right now.
Drew Carey.
Yes, Drew Carey was
Yeah.
the host.
Carey.
Where the points are made up and nothing matters. Yeah,
I
it was
like the
great.
show.
Wayne Brady came live to Washington State on Dad's Weekend,
Did he really?
one weekend, and performed at the Coliseum there. And he was fantastic.
Oh, he's such a good singer, too. Because he was Neil Patrick Harris's brother in How I Met Your Mother.
Oh, that's right.
He was Barney Stinson's brother. Oh, God.
Multi-talented.
Just
Pretty
remember
good
Ray
host of
Let's Make a Deal.
Let's Make
Yeah.
a Deal.
That's
Wayne
right.
Brady will cut you, though, if you cross it.
Oh, there's
Oh,
no
I don't
question.
doubt it.
615-737-1045, our number. We dive more into the 3 signings the Titans reportedly made yesterday. And we asked Rhett Bryan the question in the middle of your draft prep and the draft bunker that you have been in for the past couple of weeks with Coach Dave McGinnis. And we asked the people as well, as we want your interaction on this. How have the Titans' reported moves in free agency changed or maybe not changed their draft needs? Specifically at number 11, are the amount of offensive linemen you've already signed incentivized you or pointed you towards other needs at number 11 in the first round, or incentivized you to move back in the first round? That's the discussion we'll have next. Your phone calls as well at 615-737-1045. It's Ramon, Kayla, and Will with Rhett Bryan on 1045 The Zone. Hey, it's Hey, it's Will Bowling here for my friends at Lee Company. When was the last time you had your air ducts cleaned? Well, with allergy season starting, now is the perfect time to ensure that you've got the best air quality possible. If you don't know the last time your air ducts were cleaned, or maybe you're noticing there's a little bit more dust than usual around your home, then having your air ducts cleaned may be worth it to your family and your home as well. So Lee Company's got an offer for you. Get 10% off your next duct cleaning with Lee Company by calling 615-567-1000 or going online to leecompany.com/promotions. Lee Company is open 24/7. You've seen their vans driving around here in Middle Tennessee. They're an active member of our communities, and they've got another great offer for you that I'm telling you about all the time. 10% off your next duct cleaning with Lee Company. They do it all. We say that Lee Company is all you need, literally, because they are your facility manager and they will help you as allergy season gets started. Go online to leecompany.com/promotions. The number again, 615-567-1000. That's Lee Company, all you need. It's about Kayla and Will, and it's powered by all Four Seasons Garage Doors. Hour 2 continuing here on the Wednesday morning edition with Rhett Bryan and Kayla Anderson. I am Will Bowling. So discussion, we want your interaction on at 615-737-1045. Have the Titans done enough over the past couple of days in the legal tampering period to change their draft needs specifically in the first round? 615-737-1045. Because I am of the opinion, guys, that this team is still probably in a position to draft an offensive lineman in the first round. And maybe the devil's advocate to that is you haven't made a wide receiver move yet. Are you more incentivized now to take the best wide receiver available with where you are in the middle of the first round? And I'll give you guys the opportunity to react to that and share your thoughts before we go to the people on the phone lines as well.
Ladies first, Kayla.
So I am now a firm believer that anything could happen, because now that you've got some pieces on that offensive line, and look, you still don't know if there's anything else coming down.
Right.
There's still time. I was at first set on absolutely we're going to take a tackle at 11. Even if maybe if there was a guy that you couldn't pass up, you take him. But other than that, I was sold on it. Now I'm starting to think you could possibly trade down, get one of these offensive linemen still that you could just have for, depth, or, just have a guy like that start, and then just know that you have some of these other guys that you've brought in as the depth pieces. So you could shore up that offensive line, because we know when one drops, it's like 3 of them drop, and making sure you have that guy for the future. So you could trade down possibly in that situation, get some more out of it. Or you could really just take the best available guy that comes to you at 11 if they really, really like somebody. Specifically, maybe defensive guy. Or shoot, do you take a tight end?
See, she ain't wrong. She's a smart lady.
All good options.
Yes, and I would agree that they have so far, air quotes here, set themselves up for those scenarios. I think they could. They could still take a tackle there if they wanted to.
Sure.
They certainly could. I believe they've increased their opportunities and options for best available scenario, whether it's a cornerback, whether it's a pass rusher, whether it is, whatever you want to throw at it. A tight end that's a good example. And I could also see the scenario where they trade back towards the bottom third of the round and take a guy like Osiris Torrance from University of Florida, who I believe you can plug and play, and he is a massive human being. Y'all saw him at the Senior Bowl in Mobile, and he is an impressive specimen, and you talk about a machine. But that's just one example. But, yeah, I think they've done themselves so far on paper, and to be confirmed later today, to open themselves up to those options.
So I go back to the November 6th, 2022 tweet from ESPN's Ed Werder when thinking about the way this roster is being constructed. When Ed Werder tweeted, asked Mike Vrabel's sustainability of Derrick Henry taking 26-plus carries every game. Quote, we've been able to use him, and he's helped us win a lot of games since I've been here. I don't know what else we would do. Throw it 50 times? I mean, who the bleep would we throw it to? That was Mike Vrabel to Ed Werder back in early November.
Yep.
I think we can confidently say the thing that we know is that one of the first 2 picks, I would imagine, is now going to be used on a wide receiver. I think that's a fair statement to make at this point, whether it's Jackson Smith and Jigba in the first round, whether it's moving back a little bit and picking up major speed in Jordan Addison or Jalen Hyatt, whether that's taking the best available player, best available pass catcher even between tight end and wide receiver in the first round, and then getting somebody like Cedric Tillman or Josh Downs or a number of options that you would have available to you in the second round. I think the only thing that we know about the draft needs now is that you've got to take a receiver with one of your first 2 picks.
And if you're talking about 11, I think that's where it gets a little more dicey.
Right.
You better be very sure of who your guy is, which they would be. I mean, they're doing all the due diligence of that, whether that's Jackson Smith and Jigba or whoever. But I almost think that 11 is too early for a wide receiver in this draft.
Yep.
I'm looking at a mock from Fox Sports right now that has them taking Quentin Johnston, the wide receiver from TCU, at 11. And I think that's just going along with kind of what we're saying is what are the remaining needs and those kinds of things. Because I just don't – and look, as sure as I say that, there'll be 83 wide receivers taken in the first round. 11 might be a little early for a receiver in this particular class. Because there is no Chris Olave, Garrett Wilson, duo like that, who, by the way, were the first pair of rookies to have 1,000-yard receiving seasons in their rookie. I mean,
right?
Arrow pointing up.
Pretty good.
Both of those cases.
Yeah, I would actually agree with Rhett. That might be a little too early. I've said it time and time, Will Schaaf on this show, and Rhett, you've probably heard me say it. I am not impressed by this wide receiver class. And maybe I'm a tough critic because I'm comparing it to some really good classes in the past.
Well, you're tough, Kayla. No.
Tough dang cookie. But I mean, and then you got Jordan Addison, but I've got questions about him. I don't know if I don't think he's really necessarily top 10 pick.
Well,
11
it's
pick.
like we were saying yesterday, Kayla. There's not the deep with lots of options, prototypical wide receivers who are just, because we talk about the Quentin Johnston part of it.
He's impressive.
The size and frame and all that is there, but where's all of the production? Because it drops off in combat catches, and a guy that's got a huge wing. And that's why I said Cedric Tillman, I think, helped his draft stock tremendously with his work at the Combine a couple of weeks ago because he is 6'3", 215. A lot of the receivers, as Will said, seems like they're around 6 feet tall and around 180 pounds. And plenty of value there, but I just don't think you've got it in your mind, and a lot of other people too, that there's just who is the Calvin Johnson, who's a Megatron. There's no Megatron in this draft.
Another guy that I'm curious where he will land, and someone who I think is becoming more of a first-round option for this team, based on what he can do as a blocker and a receiver. Notre Dame's Michael Mayer is really interesting to me. And he has been throughout this entire process, a guy that had a very high percentage of combat catches, was good in the red zone for Notre Dame at the tight end position, who's been compared to Rob Gronkowski just based on his size and his hands at the size that he is. Did a guy like that just become more of a viable option for the Titans, who still have not made a decision on Austin Hooper at this point of the process, have Chikakonkwo, who's ceiling is so high if somebody can help him in the blocking part of his game. If there's basically a Craig Stevens to his Delaney Walker, as I've seen compared on Twitter over the past couple of days. Did a guy like that just become more of a first-round option for the Titans in Michael Mayer or any of these premium tight ends?
I mean, it's possible, but here's the one thing that this draft is rich in, is tight ends. Now, you talk about talent spread throughout this entire draft with those guys. If Michael Mayer is the guy that you can't deal and live without, then hey, fine. But I'm going to tell you, I feel like there's value you can get throughout this thing. For example, another guy who a Big Ten guy, Michael Schoonmaker from Michigan.
Right.
Guy's a hoss. He can play, and is not your big Mike Gesicki wide receiver guy. I mean, he can be an inline blocker. He can be a red zone threat. Sure. I mean, you can go back and look at the stuff on him. They ain't too shabby, and that's just two names out of many that people will be discussing and picking over that weekend at the end of April.
And 6'4", 250 Sam Laporta out of Iowa as well.
That's another one.
There's a good one.
Not a bad one at all.
Tight end you.
That's right.
Yeah.
615-737-1045 is our number. We go to the phones where Brandon is in Westmoreland leading us off this morning. What's going on, Brandon?
Hey, guys. Good morning. I enjoy listening to the show.
Thank you.
give an input on what I think the Titans should do, and y'all tell me if you think they'll do this. We stay at 11 if we don't do no major trades with Henry or anything like that, which I hope not. We stay at 11. We beef up either the defensive or offensive line. Of course, I feel that we're going to keep Tannehill for another season. Then maybe we'll trade up with our second, third pick, something like that, to get a Hyatt or a Tillman. Big Vols fan, so I'd love for them to come to the Titans. And then through free agency, get the best available wide receiver that's still out there and give them a deal. I'll kind of hang up and listen. You tell me what you think. Thanks, guys.
Thanks, Brandon. Appreciate the call.
There are some things that he said that I agree with. I think that Ryan Tannehill will probably more than likely be the quarterback in 2023 going forward this year. In terms of, I could see an O or a D-line prospect still at 11. But in terms of trading up for the other part to get to a Jalen Hyatt, first of all, I believe Jalen Hyatt will go in the first round. It'll be the bottom half, yeah. Cedric Tillman, I believe you can get in night 2.
Yep.
So you might have an option there at 41 if you want it. But in terms of taking picks to trade up to get something else like that, you only have 6 picks to begin with. You have no compensatories. So it's probably more likely that you stay with what you have.
Okay.
I think, trading down from 11 sounds more and more handsome in this because of what has been reported that they're going to do that becomes official today at 3:00. And if they add more pieces and make more moves, that may increase the likelihood in this. And I'm sure Rand Carthon's open to phone calls and, being able to entertain the thought of trading down if there's not somebody there at 11 that they can't live without.
And at this point, too, it's interesting with Jalen Carter's reported slide in the draft board. Is there someone willing to trade up to get that guy around the top 10? I mean, I don't think he gets past Philadelphia at 10.
But what if he does and he's sitting there at 11? Do you take Jalen Carter?
I think you do.
I think you absolutely do.
My goodness.
Whew.
Him and Jeffrey Simmons and
yeah.
Ooh.
At that point, you've got,
That's nasty.
You've got the best defensive line in football at that point with Jalen Carter next to Jeffrey Simmons. I just don't think he gets past Philadelphia. But
right,
who benefits the most from that guy maybe falling down a little bit? Maybe it's Philly. Maybe it's the Titans that can find a trade partner and move back a little bit. But I tend to agree with you, Rhett, that the Titans now became a little bit more likely to survey their options and sell that 11th pick and move back 7 or 8 spots.
And I think you're right with Carter with the 10th spot with Philly because Javon Hargrave is now with the 49ers. And a lot of those guys, they added towards the end of the year trying to make their run, whether it's, Sue or those other guys. They're all free agents. And so, there's going to be a need there for them to continue what they're trying to do.
Real quick question for you guys. Now that we've had the combine, that's in the past. Now it's, pro days. We're seeing a lot of these teams hold their pro days. I think Clemson just had theirs. And then you also then are starting to bring guys in for what I believe is formal interviews.
Yeah, the top 30 visits.
Right. So the top 30 visits, I'm just curious, how big are those? Because I believe that is when Treylon Burks really made the correct right impression on John Robinson and Mike Vrabel last year. Because remember, they said at the combine they weren't quite sure about him. I'm just curious, is like those formal meetings, how important those are?
Oh, they're huge because you've got them on your campus and you've got the time to carve out and talk to them. Whereas the other part you were talking about at the Indianapolis, it's like speed dating. It's like, the speed dating at lunch or whatever. And you don't know if you get a full snapshot of what you need from their personality or whatever it is you're looking for. And that doesn't mean that it's imminent that you draft them, but certainly you have them on the top of your targets round by round to consider if you're bringing them in to do those things. Whether it's something you want to look at them medically further, just interview face-to-face, private workout, whatever.
Yeah.
So yeah, I mean, those are very beneficial when you're talking about getting to learn a little more about or getting to know a prospect.
615-737-1045, our number if you want to jump in. Coming up next, we'll get to Brian on the phone lines as we continue our discussion on the Titans' reported free agent moves and how it could affect their draft priorities at number 11. Josh Ward coming up within the hour at 8:20. We'll talk some balls with him in hour number 3. Much more still to come. 615-737-1045 on Ramon, Kayla, and Will. 1045 The Zone.
It's Ramon Foster for Secure Lawn. And listen to me, I know who you are. You're the ones who walk around the yard every day getting mad when you see weeds. You obsessively care about your grass. Your spouse and friends tell you that you talk about your grass more than you talk about anything else. You want to be the envy of your neighbors, though. And again, I'm talking to you because you like me. You need to call Secure Lawn because right now is the time to be applying crabgrass and broadleaf weed control. And I have the people you need to call. Again, I say it again because when I mention Secure Lawn, is one of those names and companies that if you know them, then you know, and you know how good they are and what they mean because they're family owned and operated. They're local. Secure Lawn has been building up a solid reputation here in Middle Tennessee with homeowners for 20 years, offering neighborly advice and legendary service. And the best part about it, they don't make you sign any kind of contracts. In fact, if you're ever unhappy with a service, they will do anything they can to make it right. And if you're still unhappy, they will give you your money back on the last treatment. This is unheard of customer service. They offer free service calls, and if you need anything in between treatments, they'll come right back for free. Everything that Secure Lawn uses is pet, kid, and environmentally friendly, so you don't have to worry about any dangerous chemicals hurting your family. They protect all types of grass, fescue, whatever you want, Kentucky bluegrass, whatever. And they service residential, commercial, and even athletic fields. So go ahead and get a head start on your yard and call Secure Lawn. The number is 615-893-8455 or go online to securelawn.com.
It's Ramon, Kayla, and Will, powered by All Four Seasons Garage Doors right here on 104.5 The Zone. We've got your chance to head to the Stone. Bridgestone Arena, see the Nashville Predators. A couple of tickets we will give to you in just a moment. So turn up those radios just a little bit louder. If you want to head to see the Nashville Predators, who have had a good little road trip.
Stretch.
During the SEC tournament road trip.
Got a win yesterday.
They did over the team that I will always
Detroit.
say, this is the hill that I will die on as a Nashville native, is the number one rival of the Nashville Predators and always will be.
Used to be.
I still think they are. Detroit will always and forever be public enemy number one.
Some people who were originally here think that. Yeah, you're right.
I do.
The original fans that started here, that was the rival.
I always will believe that. So we've got your chance to go see the Preds. But first, we go back to the phone lines at 615-737-1045. Let's hear from Brian on our Titans discussion this morning. What's going on, Brian?
Morning, guys. Morning, Kayla. How's it going?
What's up, Brian?
So, I agree with you guys. I think the Titans should trade back, try to maybe get a couple second-round picks, and fill in some of their other missing gaps they have at other rounds. As far as free agents, I think they need to look at building a receiver core through the free agency, because we've never drafted wide receivers well, except for A.J. Brown. Corey Davis looked good towards the end of his career when he wasn't hurt with us. But I think we should go and look at another one of Rand's 49ers and Juwan Jennings. I mean, if he's out there, if he's available, I think he's on either a free agent or the last year of his contract. Try to trade and get him. I mean, he's shown that he can make those big plays across the middle and then use that later round pick to go get us a wide receiver.
Thank you, Brian. Appreciate
Good call.
the call. Juwan Jennings will be a UFA in 2024. Does have a one-year deal with the Niners for 2023. But a Blackman High School legend. And, of course, a Tennessee legend that Georgia fans everywhere just turned their radios back down, as did Vanderbilt fans. Turned their radios back down when I mentioned Juwan
I'm sorry,
Jennings.
Georgia.
Georgia.
615-737-1045. And we give the number because right now, Preds fans, grab your friends and family for a fun night out with the Preds. Be caller number 5 right now to win tickets to see the Preds take on the Seattle Kraken on March the 23rd in Smashville. 615-737-1045. 615-737-1045. Caller number 5 will see the Nashville Predators and the new young core that is playing pretty well right now. See the Preds take on the Kraken. That is March the 23rd. That is 8 days from now. A Thursday night next week in Smashville. So there you go. Jonathan Schaefer will talk with you, get those tickets away, and we keep it rolling. But yeah, no, Detroit will always be public enemy number 1.
In your heart.
That is a team that young Will Bowling hated quite a bit. Quite a bit. I still kind of do hate them, actually.
Do the fans hate you too?
Probably. I don't know. Kansas City hates me.
I know. That's what I was getting at.
Parts of Knoxville. Not really Knoxville anymore. I was a young beat reporter. I had a section of Tennessee fans that just didn't have time for me.
The Will Bowling tour.
Like Will Bowling.
I don't know if I would have liked
me.
Stop
reporting.
I wouldn't have liked me at 19 anyway, to be fair. I think if he met me now, I would slap him and keep it rolling.
Violence.
That's all right.
Okay, that's fine.
Okay.
It's okay.
But, I mean, young Will also knew ball, though, because he was drinking cheer wines for the first time around that time.
There it is.
All right, let me ask you a question.
You may.
Well, we got just a couple of minutes here.
Yep.
What do we think the wildest thing that happens at 3:01 today? And it could be league, it could be, Titans. I'll answer first and say I think somebody is giving Lamar Jackson a deal.
That's what I was going to say, too.
I think that's the thing nationally that everyone is going to be monitoring.
You know what I would love? For Aaron Rodgers to go on the Pat McAfee show and everybody's ready for him to announce that he's going to the New York Jets, and boom, he hits him with, it's time to hang up the cleats.
And then
that's
Green
what
Bay
I want to see.
Eats a $60 million dead hit.
I don't think it's going to happen, but I would just love it for the football world.
But I think it could happen, though, or maybe he just stays in Green Bay, because Aaron Rodgers has been complaining for years about how his supporting cast in Green Bay isn't good enough. And then he's asking for all of those players in Green Bay to be traded to New York so he could play with them. So
which is it?
So which one is it?
It's so funny to me.
Legitimately. I think somebody submits an offer sheet for Lamar Jackson.
There's
today.
always one move that no one has talked about and somehow slips out.
Yeah.
One trade, there's something. And I'm saying there may be Lamar Jackson plus something else like that.
Sure.
Because it's been crazy these last nearly 48 hours.
Because I don't think Orlando Brown signs today.
I was going to ask about that.
Because the reports are he sees himself as getting big left tackle money.
Okay.
Whereas the NFL sees him as getting big right tackle money. So there's got to be a coming together there. But somebody will pay that guy a lot of money because, I mean, the skills and the physical traits that guy has at his size.
And we're talking about, again, just like these Titans reported signings, a guy in his prime, 26 years old. You're not talking about a 32-year-old, left tackle, which still are serviceable.
Right.
And the elite ones are still really good. But, Trent Brown ain't walking through that door. That's, he's the cream of the crop in this free agency class if you want to get a locked-in offensive lineman.
Taking your take about Lamar Jackson and big news with someone signing, let's take it further.
Okay.
And he, like we have been talking about this, Jim Irsay just is like, I'm going to do this. And he goes on up there to Indy. Hi, Lamar. Welcome to the AFC South.
The Indianapolis Colts.
That would shake and ruffle some feathers.
Wow.
Woo.
Yeah, exactly.
Here's a prediction, not for today, but for this week, though, and something that could happen today. I think Monty Austinfort trades the number 3 overall pick from the Arizona Cardinals to a QB-needy team. I think that happens this week. As soon as the Aaron Rodgers domino falls today, that's the next domino then to fall of, I think, the next QB-needy team that doesn't get Rodgers, didn't get Garoppolo, didn't get Derek Carr. Who is that next team to move up to 3? Maybe it's the Colts.
By the way, is Washington in need for a quarterback? I feel like they are, and I just don't feel anything out of that camp.
Washington is the team that I think is the most likely to make a move for Lamar Jackson.
Okay.
With Eric Bieniemy as their offensive coordinator.
Even though they said they weren't interested, supposedly.
I think it would make a lot of sense.
Well, and for trying to be careful about tampering, because you have a young man who does not have any representation.
True.
You would want to have that stance.
Right.
And I mean, even Atlanta went so far as to put out something social media-wise to say they weren't interested. And,
Good point.
We'll see if somebody, so we'll see what happens there.
Coming up next, we reset the headlines on the moves the Titans made reportedly yesterday as the Tennessee 49ers bolster their roster going into the official start of free agency today. Plus, the first 4 was terrific last night in Dayton, Ohio. In front of a packed crowd, Pittsburgh edged out the team that may have gotten the last spot out of the SEC over the Vanderbilt Commodores. Coming up next on our Bo, Kayla, and Will, 104.5 The Zone.
Hey there, I am joined by Dean Glasscock of Arbor Art Tree and Shrub. We tell you all the time, and you know it, they are the expert in trees and shrubs right here in Middle Tennessee. Dean, like I mentioned, with you guys knowing it all when it comes to this, we've got some cold temperatures this week, but spring is right around the corner, and you guys have a lot you can do to help. Specifically, can you talk about the full-service tree and shrub care you guys offer?
That's right. Yep, 29 years now. We are all things trees and shrubs. So if you have ornamental plants around your home, boxwoods, rhododendrons, azaleas, crepe myrtles, we take care and maintain all of those things. We also plant trees and shrubs for you. We don't do landscape plans, but if there's things that need to be removed and replaced, we can certainly take care of that for you. Again, 615-299-9999. Been around 29 years. We've got 3 certified arborists on staff. We're safe. All of our tree crews that are out working hard every day, everybody's very approachable. So if we get the opportunity to serve you, you're gonna be wowed because we do it right. We're professional. We're safe. So give us a call, 615-299-9999. Anything to do with your trees and shrubs around your home, we've got a 7-app program that we can introduce you to that'll maintain and feed and keep the pests at bay. So we're here for you. I appreciate it, y'all. Have a good rest of the week.
And you heard Dean, over 29 years of experience. You can definitely count on them to get everything looking great. Arbor Art Tree and Shrub. Check them out online at arborart.net, or you can call them at 615-299-9999. That's Arbor Art Tree and Shrub.
8:02, good morning. I'm Jonathan Schaefer from the Superbook.com sports desk. The Titans have addressed some of their offseason needs by reportedly coming to terms with defensive end Arden Key, linebacker Azeez Al-Shaair, and offensive lineman Daniel Brunskill. For Key, 3 years, $21 million, max value of $24 million, includes $13 million fully guaranteed at signing. According to Jonathan Jones of CBS Sports, the Titans will place a second-round tender on restricted free agent Teair Tart. And according to Terry McCormick of Titans Insider, the Titans will not place a tender on Nick Westbrook-Akine, which would allow NWI to become a free agent. First two of the first four last night in the men's college basketball tournament. Texas A&M Corpus Christi 75-71 win over Southeast Missouri State. Pittsburgh edged Mississippi State 60-59. The final two of those first four tonight. Fairleigh Dickinson taking on Texas Southern. We'll join that game in progress following 3HL. Nevada against Arizona State following that. NIT, Vanderbilt defeated Yale 71-62 at Memorial Gym last night. Tyron Lawrence game high 25 points. And the Predators defeated the Red Wings 2-1. Preds have won 3 in a row. For all your foundation repair and waterproofing needs, visit USSTN.com. Breaking news at once on your home for the Titans and the Vols. This is 104.5 The Zone.
Second half of the show starts now on Ramon, Kayla, and Will, and it's powered, as always, by All Four Seasons Garage Doors with the executive producer of Titans Radio, Rhett Bryan, filling in for the big ragu, Ramon Foster. A very well-deserved week off for him. Our capitalized J journalist, Kayla Anderson, here, present and accounted for.
Yes, sir, she is the bee's knees, Kayla. Woo! And she covers your favorite teams, Kayla. Let her ease your worried mind.
There it is.
And spinning that hit and all the other hits this morning, Jonathan Schaefer, the best producer in the world.
The best producer in the world.
That's right, and don't you ever forget it. My name is Will Bowling.
His name is Will Bowling.
You can't see me, but you can hear me for 4 hours a day.
But we're dancing in here.
And since we sound a little bit like 3HL this morning, playing multiple intros, I have to then give 3HL a congratulations.
Yeah.
That I just saw from WKRN News 2 on Twitter saying the bill to eliminate daylight savings time and have year-round standard time advances in committee.
Wow.
It's not as good of news for us, better news for afternoons.
Sure, but for
but I'm
us,
still good with it.
Being able to actually still do things, before we go to bed, and we're not like a complete zombie yet. I feel like it makes me at least stay up a little more longer. It's easier to do my research a little longer because it's not pitch black.
It doesn't help me as much because, of course, this is all about me, the time change part of it. So it is harder. Like last night, I didn't feel like it was as late as it was. Then that's when it caught up with me.
Mm-hmm.
It's when I was like drinking caffeine at like 7:30. Which typically is when I'm starting to like chill a little bit and like get ready to go to sleep. So anyway, it's fine. Everything's fine. I'm fine.
Notice you were talking about you and no one was paying attention.
No, I was being very sarcastic. I prefer the time change. It's more golf this way.
Wow.
Yes.
More sunlight to go golf year round.
Listen, I'm in favor of them just leaving it with whatever and just stop. If it's standard or it's daylight, whatever, let's stop springing forward and falling back.
Yes.
Stop.
Yes.
Rhett's basically saying,
suck it.
Yeah.
It's the Michael Jordan.
I'm also saying to the time
That's
change, Aaron Rodgers.
You, Aaron Rodgers.
There we go. What are we at? About a half
You
dozen
time
of those
change.
7, I think.
So I'm sure you can tune into
7.
3HL and hear all about where that committee thing is, whatever. I'm doing what my generation does too much.
Right.
I'm just reading the headline and moving on.
Because they were advocating for it.
Oh, they have been for years.
For a while. For a while.
That is Brent Doherty is known as the mayor. That is the platform that he has been planning to run on for a very long time.
Yes.
Correct.
Literally is daylight savings time. So, the first 4 was good last night. Pittsburgh with a 1-point win over Mississippi State, 60-59. State's back and forth game for them. Jeff Capel at Pittsburgh has done a terrific job.
Phenomenal job.
They won an NCAA tournament game for the first time since 2014.
Yeah.
The Jamie Dixon era.
That's right. Of course, Kevin Stallings was
now
at
with
Pittsburgh.
the Long Frogs? Is that what Clark Kellogg called them the other day?
Oh, wait, really? I didn't hear that.
You didn't hear that
The
during the selection
Lawn
show?
Frogs?
Oh, let me go find that.
Okay,
Hold on.
please, can we replay that?
Botched that big time.
That is awful.
I was watching the final round of the Players' Championship and had the selection show on my laptop on mute Sunday. So I did not hear any of the commentary.
Good, because you didn't hear Seth Davis then go off about your balls
Well, no,
being
I did see
overseeded.
that because everyone has talked about it. I actually, by the way, think Jay Wright is terrific on TV.
He is absolutely phenomenal, but why isn't he coaching still? Because that man is still super young, or at least he looks like it. And he was such a good coach.
Is he that young, though?
Well, he looks like
Jay
he's
Wright?
that young. I mean,
Jay
he
Wright
fooled me.
is, he's younger than Rick Barnes.
Yeah.
All right, here's Clark Kellogg.
61 years old.
I got it
61?
wrong, but here was Clark Kellogg
Okay.
the other night. If it decides to play.
Oh, no.
And cute.
Oh, of course. It
Mom, pick
walks
me up. I'm
Yeah,
scared.
That's perfect.
Okay.
Hold on. Stupid technology. Demerit on the worst
The
producer
world,
right
Craig.
That is the
Thing, Seth, but keep an eye on those Texas Froghorns. They are a terrific team. Mike Miles is outstanding in the back.
Oh, Coach Mack would be mad.
Thing, Seth, but keep an eye on those Texas Froghorns. They are.
Look, we've all been there.
No, we have.
But that was pretty bad.
But it's pretty funny. Because he
Oh,
didn't
my
even
goodness.
have it right. He was trying to get out. He just had no clue. He had no clue.
Our terrific team. Mike Miles is outstanding in the team, Seth, but keep an eye on those Texas Froghorns. They are.
Did he go Froghorn, Leghorn by
That's
saying?
literally what I was going to say.
I think so.
I had a bad moment on one of those. I was calling a Western Kentucky women's basketball game last year, and for some reason in
How's
my
bragging
head,
camp going?
no, I'm not bragging on myself when I get to the end of this story. And I was like, I was looking at something where I was looking at like points, or like I was pluralizing something in my head of like the Hilltoppers or whatever.
Yep.
And for some reason, I said the Hillstoppers.
Yep.
The WKU Hillstoppers. So that one was on me.
I get it. I said tar holes during my first.
Wow.
I said tar
Can you
holes
say
in
that
my
on the
first
radio? By the
sports
way,
job.
That's strangely accurate.
God.
Can we? If Ramon was here right now, 100% what he would say is, "Can we say that on the radio?"
Oh
Wow.
my God.
Tar hole.
You know what? We all make mistakes. Seriously. I mean, I said Indianapolis, and then now it lives forever here. One of the first times I ever was on the air, I was doing traffic reports. This is a long time ago. And I was so nervous, I said there was a wreck on I-64.
Oops.
Like, no, not a thing here.
Not a thing.
You're making them believe, though. You know that's what it's all about.
I don't know. I think my delivery was off because I was just like, I'm scared.
Mama.
I think that's what Duke fans call North Carolina tar holes.
Wow.
I thought they'd appreciate that at least.
Wow.
Oh my gosh, that's outstanding.
Boy.
Beautiful.
The UNC. I mean, we truly have all been there. I'll probably do worse than that in the next couple months. Like it does happen.
Yeah.
Oh my
It's
god.
broadcasting for you. Live
I'm Ron
broadcasting.
Burgundy.
Uh-huh.
You stay classy, San Diego.
That's right.
That is the whole I'm Ron Burgundy question mark thing in terms of what gets written in a teleprompter, and you really are at the mercy of what is on the prompter.
Yes. And I've seen it happen.
Oh yeah.
I have. Especially when you're running in and there's breaking news and somebody doesn't see the copy.
That's one where I feel like,
Whoops.
correct me if I'm wrong, the automated teleprompter made things more difficult.
Yeah.
Like, I feel like having someone just run the prompter for you was probably easier than just having the automated one.
Yeah. And then even though if you're having somebody run it, guys, there's always human error, right?
Right.
And there's always, and it has happened many times where, they're trying to catch up or something goes wrong in the story and they're not going to have it in the right spot.
Sure. It's like the video that I always show Rhett and Shafe in the green room when I first started working here. There was a joke when we did the student television show that we did, UT Today at Tennessee, and anchoring then.
UT Today.
10 people were killed in the Bronx last night due to a fire that killed 10 people in the Bronx last night due to a fire.
Oh,
it's just you get it wasn't a real clip. It's like a parody video.
The thing I feel like that you guys as television in that medium, it's unfair to you is I think there's such a reliance on that teleprompter that only the really good broadcasters in television, and they're usually at the national level because they're so good, are really good at ad-libbing when the you-know-what does hit the fan.
Absolutely.
And you can, space things together and bridge things together till you get a feed that you're looking for or a guest on that you're looking for as something has happened. And usually it's something catastrophic, unfortunately. But I feel like that's a disservice to you all that, you're so tied to that. And I understand why, because the news is so segmented. Like, I know at 17 minutes after the hour, I'm going to get a full forecast.
Yes.
I'm
it
waiting
is
to see
segmented. You're exactly right. It is very segmented in local news. And there's very rare times that you go off prompter. So, yeah, you're right. It is, you got to have the ability.
There are narrow spaces for you to ad-lib, but you better
know how to.
Less
and when
is
to.
more. Edit and focus.
Yep.
Well, it's great, too, because I know Ramon Foster's not as much a broadcast guru as Kayla. He hasn't worked in the business as long. But as an NFL player, he was good at following a script. Since the NFL is totally scripted. I say that with the utmost.
I wondered where he was going with this. I'm like, what?
He brought it back. He did a good job.
First 15 plays at least.
That's why.
There's only one phenom.
Only one phenom. Don't you ever forget it. Coming up next, Josh Ward from the Sports Animal in Knoxville will join us. His thoughts on Tennessee's draw in the East region. He wrote a good preview on why Tennessee, you can't focus too much on Duke and just the specific challenges in the University of Louisiana.
Is that a good draw?
LSU fans are yelling at their radios as I say that. The University of Louisiana that awaits the Vols in the first round tomorrow, late night. And we'll see how much coffee he's already planning on making for the 9:40 p.m. Eastern time start tonight for the Tennessee basketball Volunteers. Josh Ward joins us on the other side of Ramon, Kayla, and Will, 104.5 The Zone.
10 people died in the Bronx last night due to a fire that killed 10 people in the Bronx last night during a fire.
If you have a wet basement or crawl space, it's time to call United Structural Systems. We've all heard about these guys for a long time and for good reasons. And that's because they've served Middle Tennessee since 1994 and they've helped thousands of satisfied residential customers. They are the go-to company when it comes to foundation repair and waterproofing. And if you have a wet basement or crawl space, you don't have to put up with that. Water intrusion and moisture can give you all sorts of problems down the road, and you want to get this fixed. And it can be because you have poor drainage or surface water flooding over the walls or underwater pressure forcing water into your basement. It could be because you have a plumbing leak you just don't know. But the team at United Structural Systems will find out why you have a wet basement or crawl space and will give you a plan to fix it. And if you do decide to move forward, you don't have to pay a dime until the work is done and you are satisfied. So get that free estimate from the people I trust. Go to USSTN.com. That's USSTN.com or call 615-227-2275. United Structural Systems.
Wednesday morning continues this morning on Ramon, Kayla, and Will. And as always, it's powered by All Four Seasons Garage Doors. Alongside Rhett Bryan, filling in for Ramon Foster this morning. Kayla Anderson, I'm Will Bowling. As we go to the Mark Spain Real Estate Hotline and check in with our good friend Josh Ward from the Sports Animal, Sports Radio WNML in Knoxville. What's going on, Josh? How are you?
Hey, doing great. Good morning.
Are you mentally and physically prepared for a 9:40 p.m. Eastern time tip-off tomorrow? Because I don't know if I am physically or mentally prepared for an 8:40 p.m. Central time tip-off tomorrow.
Yeah, and at this point, I'm just hoping for the 9:40 because
that's true.
If anything happens to the previous game, we see it all the time, then 9:40 is not going to happen. We start to inch toward 10 o'clock. So I am the father of 3 small children, 5, 3, and 1. So my days get started pretty early. I'm probably waking up nearly with you guys. So I'm just going to have to. It's mainly a mental game because my body's not going to be able to recover on Friday. But that's why Tennessee winning on Thursday is going to be important because the mood in Knoxville is not going to be good if you take away sleep at the same time. Get a win, you can use that energy to build up for hope for the second round to make a run at the Sweet 16.
It would be morning coffee with a side of pitchforks if that were to happen Friday morning in Knoxville. Josh, when you look at this Louisiana matchup, what concerns you the most about them? I know they've got the 6'11 forward Jordan Brown. Tennessee's been pretty good at guarding the post in general this season with Jonas Adu and Tobe Awaka. What specifically maybe concerns you a little bit about this matchup for Tennessee?
Well, not a lot with the matchup. Brown is where the conversation starts because of how good he is, and he is a high major talent. He's a legitimate guy who was actually at Arizona, was a productive player there, and then in the Sun Belt has been a dominant player. But if you look at their team, they don't shoot a lot of threes, but they do shoot a high rate. And Greg Williams Jr. is a guard who shoots about 40% from the three-point line. And Tennessee's defense on the perimeter does not have Zakai Ziegler anymore. And for Tennessee's defense the last couple weeks as the game has gone along, again, this is without Zakai on the floor. Look at the second half against Auburn, the second half against Missouri. You had Wendell Green who had success, and he's driving the basketball. But he had a big game, 24 points against Tennessee. And then Missouri is a shot-making team. But if Louisiana finds open shots and Tennessee does not have guys in the right place and they do not communicate well and they get open looks, Louisiana is capable of knocking them down. And if Tennessee's offense is not playing at a high level, which it's capable, then you could be in the middle of that game. Louisiana believes, hey, we got a shot to pull off an upset here, and then you see what happens. So try to avoid that. But the post play, my message to them is simple. Hey, you need to rebound. You need to defend well. Do what you can to take away Jordan Brown because Tennessee does have the personnel to do that. You're not asking these guys to go score points. You ask Vescovy and Josiah. And against Missouri, it was in a loss, but you had 30 points from Meshack and Tyreek Key. If you get that kind of offensive production, then Tennessee should be fine against Louisiana.
Josh, we talked to Ron Slay about this yesterday. He was just talking about the health of the team, how important that is, obviously, when you're going to try to go on a tournament run. And he even mentioned, Josiah Jordan-James, just making sure he's 100% because he's dealt with some injuries. How good do you feel like it was, as much as you want to go all the way in the SEC tournament, to have this extra rest time for them?
Yeah, so the way Alabama played last weekend in the SEC tournament, I don't think anybody was beating them. If Tennessee had beaten Missouri on Friday, I am confident Tennessee would not have beaten Alabama the next day. We'll never know, but that would be my strong guess. So would beating Missouri and playing another day against Alabama, which would have been a pretty tough game physically to go through, would that have been good for Tennessee or bad to get ready for this tournament? It wouldn't have helped, I don't think. Mm-hmm. So not that Tennessee wanted to lose to Missouri, but I don't think it's the worst thing in the world because of what they've gone through over the last couple of months with injuries. And for Josiah, it's been a conversation all season long. Having him ready and having the team ready, Vescovy with what he's asked to do on both ends of the floor without Zakai being there. Tyreek, he's not been incredibly healthy the last few weeks. He had to miss a couple of games late in the regular season. That I do think is the top priority. This team knows what it has to do. They need to execute a little bit better on defense from what we've seen near the end of the season. But again, to get ready for Louisiana, they should be fine. If Tennessee's able to play like it's capable of and have a comfortable lead and maybe get guys out late in the game against Louisiana, that can help you as you have the quick turnaround on Saturday for what would be a tougher game. So first things first, win the game, but being physically ready, that has been a challenge for this team through a lot of conference play. So making sure they're ready this week has to be the priority.
I'm just purely, interested in what is I guess, what's the excitement right now in Knoxville and in terms of a lot of these people traveling to watch the Vols? Because I know it's been a season, to end it at least, has been a little bit up and down and maybe not as much as excitement in the past or as in the past. What is it like? Can you set the tone there?
I don't think it's all that exciting right now. I think there's a lot of trepidation heading into the tournament. I think there already was that because of the way this season was going. Think about back in January when this team was top 5, and even when they had the win against Texas and move up to number 2, we were still on our show in Knoxville and other shows I think were, and we were talking to Ron about it when he would come on. We'd say, shouldn't there be a little more energy with what this team is doing and where they're ranked and what the season could be? And then February happened, and that did not help. So I don't sense a ton of energy or optimism. There's hope. If Tennessee gets to the Sweet 16, then you can snap your fingers and everybody will be calling it a successful season. Maybe not everybody, but a lot of people will. Has been my thought. So you have a 2-game opportunity to change that. But when you're talking about the mindset and hope, even though Tennessee's favored in this 4-team set, I think a lot of people see Duke and like, oh, man, Duke's hot. It's the name of Duke, and that just creates fear as well. So, that's been part of the conversation this week and the last several is what needs to happen to get a little more juice for Tennessee fans to be excited.
Josh, with all of that in mind, knowing that you could look too far ahead and think about a Duke matchup in the next round or the next game, how hard is it going to be for Rick Barnes to keep those guys focused in making sure, like you just said a moment ago, the task at hand and beating Louisiana tomorrow night?
Well, it's a good question, and I think it's kind of a required question when you're talking about a 4 versus 13 matchup, and that's a team that, talking about Louisiana, that has older guys who are talented, who are thinking, hey, why can't we go beat Tennessee? They're going to turn on film and see some issues that Tennessee's had recently and see that Tennessee has not been playing its best basketball recently and believe that it can win. But in terms of the mindset and the focus, because Tennessee has veterans who have been in the NCAA tournament and they know what's required at this stage, and they're coming off the loss against Missouri where, again, losing I don't think was the worst thing in the world, but they didn't seem too happy after that game. I think James and Vescovy and Arden Key knows this is his last chance here. I think those guys are motivated to try to finish this season in a positive way. I think they mean it when they say that they're motivated to play for Zakai out there. Not that that's going to make a big difference, but if we're having the conversation of mindset and focus, I think something like that can help. And then I don't worry at all about players like Jemai Meshack and Tobe Awaka with the way that they play, the energy they play with. That can be a big bonus in this kind of game and this time of year. So you never know. But my guess is that Tennessee will be locked in and mentally ready when it plays Louisiana.
And with the problems that they've had recently, and I think it's been periodic throughout the year, but really in the last month or so, turnovers is something that is something that drives Tennessee fans crazy in this. But if they are to beat Louisiana tomorrow night, fill in the blank, what will they have done well?
Well, I do think taking care of the basketball in this kind of game is important because if you don't, that can give a lesser team more opportunities. I think if Tennessee plays good enough defense, then some of those concerns on the perimeter, open shots for Louisiana shouldn't be there because in other games where teams shot well, like Missouri, Missouri can hit tough shots, but they had to do that against Tennessee, and they went in. If Tennessee's able to defend well and force Louisiana to make tough shots, they're probably not taking a ton. And then that makes it more difficult for them to come back. And then rebounding the basketball, I just think is a big deal. Don't allow Jordan Brown to have a dominant performance where we're coming out of there saying, maybe the top player in the Sun Belt, certainly he was in consideration for that, and a former Pac-12 guy. That was a big stage for him. I mean, if you look at the resume of Louisiana, it deserves to be in this spot. But against the best competition it faced, Texas, when it played a major conference game, lost by 28 points. So the personnel that Tennessee has, they don't have Zakai, but they have all these names that we've run through, and the seniors need a lead. James, Vescovy, Olivier Cumwa. If they do that, then Tennessee will beat Louisiana.
Josh Ward, our guest this morning on Ramon, Kayla, and Will. Josh, Lucas Panzica on our station explained it well to me a couple weeks ago when he said, it feels like Tennessee is always on the wrong side of guys that make one shining moment. Like Ryan Klein for Purdue, showing up in one shining moment, and Oregon State, and Sister Jean. Who is that guy for Tennessee who you feel like can get hot and can really carry this team? Because it feels like we were a crazy Michigan performance by a big man away from Kennedy Chandler maybe being that guy this time a year ago.
Yeah, I mean, like Sister Jean, love her, but the memoir coming out, Tennessee fans like, man, we're still having to think about what happened against Loyola Chicago. And Tennessee's been on the opposite side of that, too, and that Tennessee's had to deal with an injury that was so costly, like Kyle Alexander in that game. And, Tennessee fans they're good on this information. They don't need me to keep going. So who could step up on Tennessee's side that you're thinking, man, what a difference that was? So Josiah is a leader, so I don't think he counts in this conversation. He is a difference maker, though. If he scores, if he has big scoring performances, the results show that can carry Tennessee a long way. But I'll say Tyreek Key. The Missouri game in Knoxville, the story out of that game should have been what an awesome second half Tyreek Key had where he could not miss, and that carried Tennessee back. But instead, Missouri hit a shot at the buzzer, and the Vols lost the game. He has scoring ability. He has the ability to hit a bunch of shots. Like this time of year, you think about, Ryan Klein would be the example of just cannot miss from the outside, knocking down 3, 4, 5, keep on going three-pointers. Tyreek Key has that ability. So you know what you're getting from Vescovy. You know what his role is. We know that Josiah needs to step up and play well. If Jemai Mashack can provide a lot of offense, that's great, but his energy and defense is where the conversation begins. Tyreek Key, if he can hit shots, if he can be a guy that they count on offensively, because that's why they brought him to Tennessee as a transfer from Indiana State, that can be the difference in Tennessee being able to get out of this weekend and advance to the Sweet 16.
Josh, it's crazy how close we are already to spring practice as well in Knoxville and football restarting for the Vols and Josh Heupel. Is the quarterback's controversy, not controversy even, but it's just the conversation around Nico Iamaleava and Joe Milton, the storyline this year in spring practice for Tennessee? And if not, what is that big topic that you're most interested in as the Vols get ready to open spring practice?
Well, I do think quarterback is the number one topic, as it often is, but in this case you have Joe Milton with a lot of excitement coming out of how he finished the season, the MVP performance in the Orange Bowl, all of his potential, and fans believing, okay, now might be the time that Tennessee's able to tap into that. So the excitement of what he can do now that he is back as the starter, with the anticipation as well of what Nico will be able to do in the future. I think most fans are hoping this is Joe's senior year where he has a big season, and the preseason Heisman talk where he's not a favorite, but he's going to be a part of that conversation of candidates that, hey, he can put together a big year, and then hand things over to Nico heading into 2024, and with his talent and potential and the time that he will have had, that he'll be able to take it and run and maybe elevate what Tennessee's offense is able to do. So I think just seeing and hearing what Nico's doing is going to provide a ton of excitement for Tennessee fans. Beyond that, I would say all of the newcomers that are now on campus, a bunch of players in the 2023 class, the signing class, through recruiting that have already arrived on campus. So that'll create more competition in the secondary, and it was a highly rated class, so some pretty big names, but also transfers that have come in to help in the secondary, like Gabe Judy-Lally or Keenan Peely, a linebacker, both of those guys coming from BYU. Dante Thornton, a guy that can make big plays at wide receiver, and fans love this offense. So what a big play receiver can do, I think that's the next storyline, is kind of who's next. You have to replace Hendon and Jalen Hyatt and Byron Young and Darnell Wright. So who's going to emerge to help replace those guys to keep this going? Not necessarily to win 11 games this season. I'm not saying that's the expectation, but to keep Tennessee at a high level in the SEC so the program can keep building.
Josh Ward has been our guest from the Sports Animal in Knoxville, Sports Radio WNML, Josh_Ward, where you can find him on Twitter. Josh, if there's one thing Rick Barnes has done, it's changed and lessened some of the spring practice conversation this time of year, but still certainly a big talking point for sure. We appreciate the time as always.
Always fun. Thanks a lot, guys.
Yes, sir. There's Josh Ward with us this morning on the Mark Spain Real Estate Hotline. That is the thing that's interesting is just being around that team and covering Tennessee as a beat writer.
Sure.
For a long time. That calendar hits March. All right, spring practice. Who we got?
Yeah.
Who are the quarterbacks?
Right.
Who are the freshmen coming in?
Mm-hmm.
Not as much the case anymore, but still, it is certainly a big deal.
And
it just means more category.
Well, and it's a time for these young guys, too, to make their first impression, right? It's first impression time.
Absolutely. And speaking of football, Georgia is having their pro day today.
Oh,
Jim
yes,
Nagy
that's right.
is the head of the Senior Bowl, great American.
Love him.
Says that defensive tackle Jalen Carter will only do position drills at today's pro day. No 40 or other testing.
Okay.
He weighed in at 323 pounds, up 9 pounds from the combine 2 weeks ago.
Was he eating some spaghetti? Dang.
That's
Carbon up, man.
That's a lot of shrimp cocktails.
It is. But I think that's interesting that he's not doing the full gamut today, because I'm sure there'll be a lot of folks there at that pro day just to see all prospects, but especially him.
Well, when we come back, one tight end on the move to the NFC East, a big-time addition for Daniel Jones and the New York Football Giants, and the first of Joe Burrow's weapons, who will be playing elsewhere, as of Ian Rappaport just about 30 seconds ago. We'll tell you who that is coming up next on Ramon, Kayla, and Will, 104.5 The Zone.
I'm going to take you back to the 80s for a minute. 1983 to be exact, when Michael Jackson was topping the charts, when parachute pants were in style, and when people listened to music on cassettes. 1983, the year that Two Rivers Ford was born. It's their 40th anniversary as a local business right here in Middle Tennessee. Two Rivers has always been a big part of our community. They've been a big part of 104.5 The Zone, a big part of local sports, and a big part of local charities also. Two Rivers Ford always steps up to do whatever this community needs. And if you're from Nashville, listen, you know this already. But if you're new to town, I'm going to tell you what Two Rivers Ford is all about. They've been doing business with honesty and integrity for 40 years. What you see is what you get. They are transparent and upfront, and they have non-commissioned salespeople, so they never pressure you into buying anything. They always have great prices. They always sell below MSRP on their non-specialty new Fords. And they make car easy buying, whether you're ordering a vehicle, shopping on the lot, or shopping online. They do business however you want to do business. Two Rivers Ford has asked me to make sure to say thank you to all of their customers and to their community for 40 great years. They've loved every minute of this ride. Two Rivers Ford, powered by Ford, driven by people.
It's Ramon, Kayla, and Will, powered by All Four Seasons Garage Doors on a 104.5 The Zone. I feel like I'm at a Preds playoff game.
And nothing hit like that when you watch that live with the intro.
It's pretty good.
I got chills.
Pretty good. Rhett Bryan, Kayla Anderson, Will Bowling with you this morning. Some news of the NFL. I feel like we could say that coming back from every break if we really wanted to.
The National Football League.
Jeremy Fowler confirming an Ian Rappaport report. Nope. Better in my head. That the Carolina Panthers are signing tight end Hayden Hurst to a 3-year deal.
The former first-round pick of the Baltimore Ravens.
That's right. Former first-rounder. Team might still look through draft, Fowler adds, at the tight end position. But that is one weapon for Joe Burrow that now for the second straight year will have to be a new one at tight end.
Well, and look, we see it every year. People raid the cupboards of the good teams. And they've lost most of their starting safeties on defense and now starting tight end. And
that's a year removed from losing C.J. Uzoma to the New York Jets.
That's right.
Last year.
That's exactly right.
So 3 years, 3 tight ends in Cincy, but they've got a heck of a draft class to choose from this time around.
I'm sure they'll entice them with Skyline Chili and Montgomery and ribs.
It's a good way to entice you to go literally anywhere else in the world by offering Skyline Chili.
There we go. There it is.
I don't hate it that much.
Skyline, it's not great.
In Cincinnati, so
it's not great.
It's an acquired taste, I think. Yes,
it's good on hot dogs, not on spaghetti.
Yes.
I like Skyline chili on hot dogs.
It's fine on spaghetti.
It's okay. You're different though. Like you grew up closer to Cincinnati than I did.
I don't claim to.
Well, I know, but like y'all are weirder with food up there.
No, I mean, again, with the Skyline chili, you have to realize that it's not actually chili.
No, I know.
It's a topping.
It's sauce.
So, yes, it's a sauce. So,
if you look at it, I'm like, well, if it's not that, what is it? Dog food? What are we talking about?
It can be.
And that's but their baseball team.
I mean, depends. But if you look at it as a topping, if you look at it as a sauce on top of a hot dog on a coney or spaghetti, perfectly fine. It's good. I don't call it chili because chili should not be that watery and runny.
So it's not a standalone staple. It's a topping.
Right.
Okay.
You can go and get a can of Vietti chili. That's local, and that's chili. You go and get Skyline. You're not just going to open up a can of Skyline and eat it straight. No, it's a topping.
I thought you were going to say open up a can of something else. I was like, okay.
That's something my grandmother would make Frank's chili to put on hot dogs. Basically just like ground beef, onions, and this like secret stuff she'd put in it to put on hot dogs.
Why is it called Frank's?
I don't know.
Is Frank's hot sauce maybe the ingredient?
Perhaps.
She puts that bleep on everything?
Yes. That should be, I like that.
But again, if you want to have that experience with a chili 5-way, you can go to Steak and Shake.
That's correct.
And that's a better version of what Skyline tries to do.
That makes me hungry just thinking about that.
I literally am starving now.
Skyline is at its best when you take an entire block of cheese and shred all of it into the Skyline.
Actually, you ate an entire roll of cheese.
It's almost like mac and cheese.
But like I will go to Steak and Shake to get the chili 5-way with the shredded, with the diced onions, the cheese, and the topping on the spaghetti.
This just in from Adam Schefter.
Uh-oh.
The Green Bay Packers have felt that Aaron Rodgers is worth 2 first-round draft picks via trade. Says the organization felt he's worth a, quote, Matthew Stafford package of multiple first-round picks.
Okay.
All right.
No, I don't see any scenario of that.
Wowzer.
No, I don't see any scenario of that.
Thank you. So that is, I guess, the holdup in negotiation.
Yeah, but here's the problem.
Perhaps
the Jets have really limited options right now.
That's true.
They've kind of painted themselves into a corner.
They sure have.
Yeah.
So if the man emerged from the darkness and held 2 franchises hostage.
That's their fault.
You, Aaron Rodgers.
You know what you're getting with Aaron Rodgers. So what if this falls through? What is their backup plan?
Ryan Tannehill?
Stacy's mom got it going on.
Oh, no. Oh, no.
It's not Zach Wilson.
Did you say Ryan Tannehill?
Yeah.
I did just to play that drop. It's not really Ryan Tannehill. It's not Jimmy Garoppolo.
Wait, Will choosing violence.
Well, I don't know.
How about Lamar?
Sometimes I am the anti-hero. I'm the problem. It's me.
Thank you.
All right, Taylor Swift. We appreciate it.
Thank you. You're welcome. I don't know. I mean, Lamar Jackson in New York would be interesting. They're going to get the deal done.
Okay.
I think they just want Aaron out of there. It's funny to me that the Jets somehow still have all the leverage in this as soon as Aaron says he wants to go to New York. And he wants to pull a Brett Favre. Mm-hmm. Which means we need to look deeper into Aaron's charity efforts. Okay.
Wow. Going to look through the pics on his phone, too?
I just want to trade Aaron Rodgers to the surface of the sun.
You, Aaron Rodgers.
Or Antarctica.
I'm serious. I am so over this stuff.
I am too.
Like, I want Tom Brady to stay retired. I'm tired. I'm just sick of it.
And I think he is.
Just stop.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, he's going to learn how to be a
I'm sure
broadcaster.
people are out there like, but Rhett, you could have Aaron Rodgers here. No.
Yeah.
Pass.
What? So you don't know what you're going to get out of
Texas
him in
condition, El Paso.
Why would I want a quarterback that had a worse passer rating than Ryan Tannehill did with worse weapons last year? A.K.A. Aaron Rodgers.
Who you never know what he's thinking or going to do, to your point.
Absolutely.
You just, golly.
He could retire mid-season, guys. You never know.
Yeah, I mean, he's made plenty of money.
Never know.
He does not need,
Our own Robert Walsh has chimed in with his opinion on this.
Lovely.
No! Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Perfect.
Thank you, Bert.
Nothing else that needs to be said.
No!
615-737-1045, our number. Coming up, we were talking about a couple of running backs who could be versatile number 2 options in Tennessee with no Dontrell Hilliard on the books moving forward into free agency. 2 quarterbacks are staying, or 2 running backs are staying put. One seeking a trade. Another one is on the move. A big day for running backs yesterday afternoon as we get ready for quarter number 4. And John Glennon on the other side at 9:20 as well. Coming up on Ramon, Kayla, and Will, 104.5 The Zone.
Tar Holes
9:01. Good morning. I'm Jonathan Schaefer from the Superbook.com sports desk. The Titans have addressed some of their offseason needs by reportedly coming to terms with defensive end Arden Key, linebacker Azeez Al-Shaair, and offensive lineman Daniel Brunskill. For Key, it is a 3-year, $21 million deal with a max value of $24 million. It includes $13 million fully guaranteed at signing. According to Jonathan Jones of CBS Sports, the Titans will place a second-round tender on restricted free agent Tier Tart. And according to Terry McCormick of Titans Insider, the Titans will not place a tender on Nick Westbrook-Akine, which would allow NWI to become a free agent. The first two of the first four last night in the NCAA men's tournament. Texas A&M Corpus Christi defeated Southeast Missouri State 75-71. Pittsburgh outlasted Mississippi State 60-59. Final two of those first four tonight. Fairleigh Dickinson taking on Texas Southern. Join that game in progress following 3HL here on the Zone. Nevada will then take on Arizona State. NIT, Vanderbilt defeated Yale 71-62. Tyron Lawrence, a game-high 25 points for the Doors. And to the NHL, Predators 2, Red Wings 1. The Preds have won 3 in a row. For all your foundation repair and waterproofing needs, visit USSTN.com. Breaking news at once on your home, the Titans and the Vols. This is 104.5. The Zone.
Fourth quarter of the show, on the show that gets better as the game goes on. It's Ramon, Kayla, and Will, powered by All Four Seasons Garage Doors, with the executive producer of Titans Radio filling in for Ramon Foster. He is the one and only Brent Bryan. With our capitalized J journalist, Kayla Anderson. And with the best producer in the world, Jonathan Schaefer, making the show happen.
The best producer in the world! Of the world, Craig. The world.
My name is Will Bowling. The phone number is 615-737-1045. I feel like we don't hear as much from Schaefer without him stirring the pot with Ramon.
What are you talking about? I've been on quite a bit today.
I know you've been quiet.
I mean, I was talking about Skyline Chili like 20 minutes ago.
You were talking about Skyline Chili, but it's because you never miss an opportunity to disparage the name of the city of Cincinnati.
Why would I miss that opportunity?
Well, that's true. It's like me with Memphis.
Exactly. Same thing with the city of Cleveland.
Cleveland. What's the parody video?
You know what Cleveland can do?
You, Aaron Rodgers.
Same thing.
There it is.
City of Baltimore?
You, Aaron Rodgers.
Ooh, good morning. Baltimore, huh?
Take your crab
Ravens.
Step off.
Well, I mean, I hate the Ravens as much as the next guy. But
City of Philadelphia?
You, Aaron Rodgers.
I don't care.
I kind of respect Philly.
No, I can't. See, being a native Pennsylvanian, I can't.
Let's stop.
At all.
Let's stop that.
No, I didn't say I liked Eagles fans. I just said I respect the city itself. I love the Rocky movie.
Well, we'll have a Philadelphian on tomorrow to talk about the NCAA tournament.
Oh, we will.
But you like him, Eitan Shander.
Eitan's the GOAT.
Yeah.
Goated.
Making you money.
He does make me money consistently. I'm back on my ladder play again, by the way. Have I told you about this, Rhett?
Nathaniel!
What exactly are you talking about?
So there's a Twitter account called Calling Our Shot that does an NBA parlay of the day.
Okay.
That is plus 100. Day one, you bet $10, you win 10. Day two, you bet 20, you get 40. And you do that for 10 straight days. And if you bet what you made from the day before, you end up with $10,000 on day 10. We made it to day 5 over the weekend. And then somebody for the Cavs didn't have enough rebounds or something, and it didn't hit. I think it was I don't remember who it was, but it got to day 5 where it got up to $120.
Wow.
And it was kind of rolling a little bit.
That's a ladder for you.
I know.
A ladder that if you get to the top rung, it's a big bag of cash.
So day 1 hit yesterday.
Wow.
Yeah. So it was good. Which I don't always go with the amount everyone else did. I just kind of bet the parlay every day.
Yeah.
So we'll see. Some breaking news in the NFL.
Breaking news.
On a major release. This one is legit. This is a big deal. Cowboys writer Clarence Hill.
Who who would know,
is
for
reporting that after 7 seasons, the Dallas Cowboys are releasing Ezekiel Elliott.
Whoa, baby.
There we go.
Tony Pollard, greater than Zeke, which is a train and a hill that we were dying on the entire season. Wow.
But, Will, they still need a running back because Tony Pollard is on the mend.
Wouldn't it be a very Jerry Jones thing to do to get the guy that half of Dallas Cowboys fans were a fan of in college?
In Bijan Robinson.
That's right. It feels like it makes a ton of sense for the Cowboys.
Yeah.
Very interesting.
Huh.
We were just
you
saying
look
that
at those
too.
numbers of his, and you're like, And then, and then they franchise tag Tony Pollard. Now they got a whole lot of money between those two numbers to the running back position. So, wow. Ezekiel Elliott.
So
look
with
at those numbers. I think he had $11 million base salary.
That's right. So with a pre-June 1st release of Ezekiel Elliott, $11.8 million of dead cap, and the Dallas Cowboys will only save $4.8 million against the 2023 salary cap.
Wow.
If they were to release him post-June 1st, you would have saved $10.9 million against the cap. You would only have had a $5 million dead cap hit for 23, but you still would have had $6 million dead in 2024. So the Dallas Cowboys just going ahead and washing their hands of Ezekiel Elliott now, instead of paying him a base salary of $10.9 million and a cap hit of $16.7 million for the 2023 season.
That's why the voidable years and things in the back of those monster contracts, when he got paid, you just go, look, probably never going to see the end of that deal.
Right.
And he didn't.
Right. So that is the standard at the running back position. Again, we discuss a lot that Derrick Henry does not apply to the normal standards of running back contracts. Those contracts were negotiated originally around the same time, too, during the pandemic.
Mm-hmm.
Because you had that interview right before the Super Bowl where Derrick Henry was taken out of context saying Zeke is the floor. Zeke money is the floor. And then he had to clarify then later that, like, oh, well, it's just, want to be in that neighborhood, whatever it was. But I remember that being a big talking point was that Zeke had just signed for his big number and that the Titans were going to have to pay Derrick Henry that number. And ultimately, Derrick Henry looks to outlive Zeke's contract
now,
as it was.
Here's the thing about Ezekiel Elliott. He's not younger now, but he's still got some tread on the tires.
Mm-hmm.
Now, his yards per carry average, I think, has declined in the last 3 straight years, if I'm not mistaken. But he's still a good back and can still help somebody.
Yeah.
That is the number 1 cap hit of all NFL running backs and the 4th highest cap hit on the Dallas Cowboys roster that is now on the table. It felt like really, too, with Zeke, that he was in the perfect situation to be successful with Tony Pollard there as a 1B option. I say that as a Tony Pollard fantasy football owner, that it would be so frustrating that, like, Tony Pollard would get the Cowboys all the way to the end zone, and then Zeke would have, like, a 1-yard touchdown run and take away the fantasy points.
Sure.
But then again, I'm breaking my own rule and talking about my fantasy team live on the air. So, anyway. But, yeah, this past year, 15 games played, 12 starts for Zeke, who had 876 yards, 3.8 yards per carry. And, Rhett, you're right that since 2018, only 1 season has he increased in his yards per carry. Went from 4.7 yards per carry to 3.8 yards per carry in 2022.
There you go.
And didn't have a receiving touchdown last year for the first time in 1 season in his career.
There you go.
So, interesting. Of course, the headlines for the Titans adding a trio of former San Francisco 49ers. Defensive end Arden Key late last night on a 3-year contract worth $21 million. Versatile offensive lineman being reported as a 2-year deal with the versatile Daniel Brunskill, 30-year-old offensive lineman who has played all positions on the offensive line. And Azeez Al-Shaair as well with a contract at the linebacker position. So much, Rhett, for everybody just, saying that Mike Vrabel was calling all the shots and making all the moves themselves, right?
Well, I mean,
trolling a little bit there.
Well, sure. I mean, the one word that Rand Carthon used the day he was introduced was collaboration. And I guarantee you they have done their best to try to be in lockstep with this to figure out the plan going forward. I'm just glad that, they made some difficult decisions in, releasing Ben Jones last week. That had to be hard for Mike Vrabel. But he knows this is a business, just like Ben Jones knows this is a business. But, you get to, get under the mark that you need to be, the salary cap set at 3 o'clock this afternoon, and then they've been active. And I must admit, they've been a little more active than I thought they would be. But I didn't know what things were going to look like, and I still don't. I think, this is a developing picture, a developing story.
Yeah, it certainly is. And we'll see what else happens today when the window to make these moves official opens at 3 p.m. Central. And how many moves get announced at 3:01. And if there is an offer sheet for Lamar Jackson on the table by 4 o'clock, as that negotiating process can start. That feels like, Rhett, by the way, too, that the offer sheet part of it is something that could happen rather quickly, because that would come down to a team just matching the offer that the Baltimore Ravens gave him under the non-exclusive tag, correct?
Yeah, and, the tweet that everybody saw yesterday also was, 3 guaranteed for 133, and then he had a crying, laughing face emoji. Like, in other words, that's not going to cut it. At some point, Muhammad is going to have to come to the mountain in this and figure some things out, because he wants to play. He wants to get paid. He's very good at what he does. And it just depends on how close someone comes to the number that he wants. And, I think the caveat in this, if we're looking at this correctly, is, he wants a guaranteed contract is what has been reported, and I'm sure is what the disconnect is in Baltimore.
Isn't it funny just seeing this report again on Aaron Rodgers and, making his announcement on the Pat McAfee show? As much as he hates when somebody else steals his thunder, and Ian Rappaport and Adam Schefter will report things he's probably going to do you think that just makes him want to do the opposite? Like, I wonder if literally he's going to change his mind today and just say, like, oh, you guys think I'm all, the ball's on the goal line to go to the Jets? No, I'm staying. I'm not leaving.
That's what I feel like he's doing. Because why would he come on? That's the thing that makes me wonder. Why would he come on if he's going to make this big announcement and there's still a lot to be decided in New York with how that's going to work? So what is he going to go on?
Too?
Just say that? Yeah,
the Packers seem like they're ready to saddle up with Jordan Love and give him the shot in this. But, they have needs as well. So
yeah, they got to move on.
I'm just tired of this being the narrative in the first part of the new fiscal year annually. 2 years of that is plenty for me. Make a decision. Let's go.
Ian Rappaport adding, by the way, with the Ezekiel Elliott move, saying this is the likely choice, sources confirm, not official, but very real chance Zeke Elliott has played his last down in Dallas, parentheses, and would be a post-June 1st release. So there you go. You save $10 million if he's a post-June 1st release versus only $4 million.
Mm-hmm.
Coming up next, John Glennon joins us, longtime Titans, Predators, Nashville writer. We'll get his thoughts on how the Titans moves, how he would grade the Titans moves so far, and ask him the question that we asked the audience earlier on in the show. Have the needs in round 1 and day 2 changed for the Titans at all with the moves that they've already reportedly made in free agency? John Glennon joins us on the other side on Ramon, Kayla, and Will, 104.5 The Zone.
Hey there, it is Kayla Anderson here for my friends at Spring Hill Heating and Cooling. They are the heating and cooling company, of course, that takes care of all your HVAC needs. They are also the proud Rudd Pro partner and a Mitsubishi Diamond contractor. It is going to get a little bit hotter soon. We're crossing our fingers. And if you haven't already booked your spring tune-up for AC and your AC unit. Now is that time. Through the month of March, you can get your AC tuned up for just $79, and you get that fall tune-up for free. That's quite the deal. So if you've turned on your AC unit, realize quickly that it was not working, that's not a good sign. Don't wait until the peak of summer, because we know how fast it comes to get that repaired. Spring Hill Heating and Cooling offers free service calls with their repairs, plus low monthly payments on those repairs. And you know what? We have met this great family in person, and they aren't going anywhere. The Spring Hill Heating and Cooling family-owned company, operated with over 20 years of experience. And when I say family-owned and operated, guys, I mean it. From Kevin opening those doors back in 2011, raising his family, they're all involved, so there is always a family member just one call away. The Spring Hill Heating and Cooling family, responding promptly to all of your issues. They get the problems resolved quickly and, more importantly, accurately. So make sure to go check them out. Spring Hill Heating and Cooling, like I said, they are the heating and cooling company that take care of all those HVAC needs. Go and visit them at springhillac.com.
Wednesday morning, wrapping up the show in hour number 4 today on Ramon, Kayla, and Will, and it's powered by All Four Seasons Garage Doors. Alongside Rhett Bryan, filling in for Ramon Foster this morning. Kayla Anderson, I'm Will Bowling. As we go to the Mark Spain Real Estate Hotline, checking in with our good friend John Glennon, giving us a couple of minutes this morning. What's going on, John? How are you?
I'm doing well. How are you all?
We're good. How would you grade the Titans' moves so far? Any surprises? A favorite so far out of the reported moves they've made?
I would give it a solid start. I'd give it, at first glance, maybe a solid B right now. I think, you look at these moves and a lot of them clearly make sense. From the holes they're trying to fill, you lose a Zach Cunningham and a David Long. Well, who do you go out and get? You're getting Azeez Al-Shaair, who's excellent inside linebacker. He's got size. He's got speed. He did good things for the Niners, and behind a couple of very good linebackers in there. You move to the offensive line, which is a big concern there. Daniel Brunskill, I think, will bring a lot of versatility. I think he had numbers very comparable to Nate Davis at right guard, who he will likely replace, I would think. So that makes sense too. Arden Key looks like a great replacement for DeMarcus Walker, who had a great career year last year with the Titans. But Arden Key has had 2 good years in a row, and he's a little bit younger. He's 2 years younger than DeMarcus Walker as well. I would say so far maybe the most interesting signing to me for the Titans was probably their first, and that was Andre Dillard. I like the signing overall. I think he's a guy with upside and potential, but I guess what comes as a surprise to me is the reported price tag at which he was signed, which was about 3 years and $30 million. We haven't seen the full breakdown of it yet, but to me that's an awful lot of money to be paying a guy who hasn't done much yet. You're focusing a lot on upside and potential there. But in general, overall, I think it's a good start for the Titans in free agency.
And, John, we had the conversation earlier of how do these moves affect or do they affect the priorities in the first 2 picks or so of the NFL draft. Do you feel like any of these moves have changed what you think the Titans might do at number 11?
To some degree, but, I still think, as I looked at the Titans during the offseason, I still thought number 1 need, has to be someone on the offensive line, very likely left tackle. And that's where I still wonder about the Andre Dillard situation. Are they thinking, okay, he is our likely left tackle at this point? To me, I think that's a little bit of a stretch, to think that right now. I would be surprised if they're writing that in pen right now. This is a guy who's played, just 43 games over 4 years and only had 9 starts. So it seems like a little bit of a stretch. So to me, I still think you can't go wrong by going left tackle with that first position. And if not that, certainly I think wide receiver is the other glaring need, that they haven't addressed in free agency so far. It's not a great market for wide receivers out there in free agency. So I think that has to be considered a key priority going into the draft as well.
Sticking on the note of wide receivers, not a great market in terms of free agency, not exactly the greatest draft class in terms of wide receivers. So what do you think they really do here, John? Because that's clearly a position of need, and you need depth there.
Yeah, you do, and it was interesting too. I saw Terry McCormick had a report yesterday too that they're not going to tender Nick Westbrook-Akine, an offer as well. So you're pretty bereft at the Titans wide receiver spot right now. There's not much coming back. I think you've got to take at least a little bit of a chance. As I said, in the free agent market, it's not a great one, but I still think, if you're the Titans, maybe you need to take a chance on a guy. DJ Chark, for instance, is a guy I like. Great physical qualities. The red flags there in terms of injury, but he had the second half of last season. I thought he was productive. He's had some productive years in the NFL. Maybe he's a guy you take a look at. Maybe, if you're looking for more of a speed guy, there's still guys out there like, even a Darius Slayton or a Paris Campbell, McCole Hardman, are some of the names that are still remaining. And even though it's not considered a tremendous, wide receiver class, coming out in the draft, I still think that has to be a priority. There's just so little coming back right now, and so little proven on the Titans too. You're looking obviously at Traylon Burks as being your number one guy, and we all think he eventually will be, but he wasn't necessarily able to show everything that he has last year. So has to be a very big priority going forward here.
We talked about collaboration so much when General Manager Ran Carthon came here, and it seems like there's also a theme with some of these, free agents that they're signing. Clearly, they have the connection with the 49ers, but it also seemed like there's a lot of versatility within these players. Would you agree with that, and do you see more of that coming?
I would agree with that, and I think especially, when you look at the numbers for a guy like Brunskill, they love the Titans, as probably any team, love versatility on offensive line. And you look at the numbers for Brunskill, last year alone, over 100 snaps at left guard, over 400 at right guard, and he even threw in some snaps, at center, at right tackle as well. I think probably he'll wind up at right guard, but he certainly looks like the guy that can fill in at a number of spots if need be there. And, Arden Key, I think as well, can move up and down the line a little bit at the defensive end, the edge rusher, maybe even move a little. He's been a good interior rusher as well, so that will help. But I think you made an interesting point there in Ran Carthon, too, and the 49ers. Connections also, to me, those three guys that we talked about, with Key and Brunskill and Al-Shaair, all had 49ers ties. To me, that kind of shows Ran Carthon has a confidence, pretty good confidence in himself as an evaluator, saying, hey, I have seen a lot of these guys. I know what they do. I feel good about them. I'm bringing them in here. And I think it also probably says something good about the relationships that he formed with these guys with the 49ers. That's not the biggest factor when it comes to signing players in free agency. Obviously, that's going to be the dollars. That's going to be the bottom line. But nonetheless, get your foot in the door and have a good working relationship. And I think Ran Carthon has shown, that he has done that so far.
John, to your point about the offensive line and what moves they've made so far, I would agree that it's a developing picture and a developing story in this, because Justin Mello, who's a friend of the station and works for the Draft Network, has reported that Maryland tackle Jalen Duncan has a top 30 visit with the Titans. Now, that's not imminent that he gets drafted, but he's a big tackle, an offensive tackle, 6'6", 306, who had a nice combine, and apparently they saw something there that they'd like to bring him in for a top 30 visit.
Yeah, that's what I mean too. Yeah, it's hard to say, despite the money that they put out to Andre Dillard, which apparently is pretty good starter type money, that makes you think, okay, this guy's going to be maybe your starting left tackle despite his lack of experience. I think you have to hedge that bet. And as I say, I'd be okay with the Titans going with a tackle there at 11. Dillard has played a little bit of guard as well. Maybe he winds up being a guard. Who knows at that point? But yeah, I still think you can't get, the two positions where the Titans are most needy and most in need of adding depth are clearly the line and at wide receiver. So yeah, it makes perfect sense that they're really taking a look at those positions heading into the draft.
All right, let me ask you a personal question on this. With the window opening at 3 o'clock officially today, are you like the rest of us? You put your notifications on and you just wait to see things populate as tweets and things go out?
Oh, absolutely, absolutely. This is the kind of year, or this is the kind of time of year that you wonder if you should be able to take a break and leave your laptop and get a sandwich. Because in those 2 minutes, the Titans might sign 2 players, or there might be a huge cut or something like that. In all seriousness, you're like, okay, can I hold off on that bathroom break, for maybe just another hour? There's been rumors circulating about so-and-so. Maybe I can just give it one more hour and then take the breather at that point. So, yeah, it's a lot of fun this time of year.
John Glennon, our guest this morning on Ramon, Kayla, and Will. So, John, leading into the draft in late April, what is the biggest need still on the board that you think the Titans might still address in free agency before they ever pick at number 11?
Yeah, I still think, as we talked about a little there, I think, wide receiver, I think, though it's not a great crop, there are some guys that could either add speed, or some size, some veteran experience, a combination of both. Maybe I still think there's some depth needed, even at the cornerback spot. We know the Titans have some talent, but obviously there's been injury situations there as well. There's not a ton of experience in that backfield, so maybe you could find someone there. And tight end as well. Chigokonkwo had that great rookie year, but what are you bringing back besides Chigokonkwo? Are you still maybe giving some thought, to Austin Hooper if you can find a deal with him, but before he hits the market this afternoon? And there's obviously some other tight end names out there. There's Foster Moreau as a possibility. I think that's clearly a position that needs some depth as well. And there are still some decent names out there in free agency.
John, it always feels like there is a surprise cut or move to sell someone that the fans and maybe the people in the area don't quite expect. Do you feel like that ship has already sailed for this team, or is there maybe another move that would make sense, like a Danico Autry, for instance, that could save the Titans much-needed money that still could be on the horizon?
Wowzers. That would be a big one. That would certainly be a surprise. I think – my sense again is that they've probably made most of the big ones. We should point out too that I think Bud Dupree is likely to become official today. It's certainly been talked about for weeks now, but this is the start of the NFL year, and I believe the Titans had to wait until today to officially release him because of his contract, and that will give them another $9 or $10 million under the cap as well. So that will help. So, who's to say? There is always something. I would be pretty stunned if we saw Autry say moved, and of course Derrick Henry's name has been talked a lot about, and not in terms of a cut, but in terms of potential trade. I kind of feel like they've made the biggest moves that they're going to make in departures, but hey, you never know. Keep an eye on that Twitter.
When you talked about, some of the moves that they have made in terms of departures, you're bringing up David Long Jr. specifically. We all knew how much he did for this defense. A lot of the guys just spoke so highly of him. And, when he left, you saw that kind of retweeting of all the players wishing him luck in Miami. It will become official today. But on the note of just maybe why you let a guy like that go, do you see this really being a thing now about the injuries, injury-prone guys that have been here? Just that's a big reason why you part ways?
Well, certainly we know that in Mike Vrabel's comments following the season, that certainly was emphasized, and to the point that he even called out, a couple of guys, and one of them was David Long, and who missed I think 12 games the last couple of years, and it's a soft tissue injury, and Mike Vrabel's reaction seemed to suggest that with some of these soft tissue injuries, that the players could do a better job themselves, maybe in the off season, to avoid these type of things, and that is one viewpoint. Certainly, I think probably plenty of people are also wondering what more the Titans might be able to do to avoid these types of chronic soft tissue injuries as well. So probably blame to go around there a little bit, but. Some of these new players that the Titans are bringing in too, it's not as if they have no injury track record. Azeez Al-Shaair missed 5 games last year with an MCL. You look at Andre Dillard, the offensive lineman, he missed an entire season with a torn biceps. Last year I think he missed 5 or 6 games, with a fracture as well. I think the differentiation they seem to be making here is that we're more willing to not overlook, but be okay with injuries that are broken bones or torn ligaments, as opposed to those soft tissue injuries, the type that a Long had, the type that a Christian Fulton had. They seem less likely to be, kind of giving in that regard when it comes to soft tissue injuries.
John Glennon has been our guest this morning on Ramon, Kayla, and Will at Glennon Sports on Twitter, where you can find him. John, we appreciate the time as always.
Okay, thanks, y'all. Appreciate it.
Thanks,
Yes,
JG.
sir. As we continue to wrap things up here with the NFL news on a very busy day and a busy week. We'll get to those running backs move we were talking about earlier coming up in our final segment after the break. And we'll get a little bit of midweek motivation from our guy, Inky Johnson, as always, to finish off our Wednesday edition. That's next as we wrap things up on Ramon, Kayla, and Will, 104.5 The Zone. One final segment this morning on our boat, Kayla and Will, powered by All Four Seasons Garage Doors. Brett Bryan, Kayla Anderson, Will Bowling, back with you again tomorrow morning at 6 a.m. Coach Dave McGinnis tomorrow. Eitan Shander makes you some money.
Ew.
And it's
March
Friday
Madness.
Eve, as the big man would say.
It'll be Thursday, and we will act like it. Coming up tomorrow morning. Talking a little bit about running backs. A couple who are staying put. One seeking a trade, another one on the move. The Miami Dolphins locked up their backfield yesterday, agreeing to deals with former 49ers running back Jeff Wilson, Raheem Mostert, who is also staying put there in Miami. Wilson on a 2-year deal with a max value of $8.2 million, and Mostert's deal worth $7.6 million with incentives. Both of them former 49ers, with Rand Carthon and Mike McDaniel in San Francisco. It's fun to say.
San Francisco treat.
Austin Eckler, meanwhile, seeking a trade from the Los Angeles Chargers of San Diego, of Anaheim, of Los Angeles. I don't know why I said that. That's just that's where my brain goes when I think of teams that play in L.A. that don't really play in L.A.
That is the merit. That'll be an interesting development right there because of what he's able to do.
Mm-hmm.
And does he become that for someone else, or does he hurt himself wanting to go somewhere else? Because, I look at this like Christian McCaffrey when he was with the Panthers. I mean, 40-some-odd% of that offense runs through his hands with the Chargers.
Right.
So is he going to find a partner that can do that? And furthermore, what's the Chargers going to do in this? I mean, you can find a back, I think, that can help you because there's so many more 3-down back options in today's football. But I don't know. Boy, things went sideways there if he's wanting to trade.
Yeah, they are. And interesting, too, just the amount of touchdowns that guy had a year ago. I mean, he led the NFL with 18 touchdowns.
Yeah.
Like that, just as a red zone threat in general.
I mean, I'd be willing to say 45% of their offense has gone through his hands in the last 2-3 years.
Right. Led the NFL with 822 yards after catch last season.
There you go.
Nice.
Rushing for 915 yards, 204 carries, and catching 107 passes for 722.
There it is.
Man, I'll tell you what, I know it's not realistic here to get Austin Eckler. But could you imagine having a premium number 2 back behind Derrick Henry of that talent level out of the backfield? I mean, it's what Dion Lewis was kind of supposed to be. When he was here.
Yeah.
I still think I would be okay with the Titans maybe surprising some people and either drafting on, one of their first 3 or 4 picks or just signing a running back like that at a premium price and having to pay a little bit for it, but getting such a dynamic playmaker to extend Derrick Henry's shelf life a little bit longer.
I think you still have to figure out exactly what you have with Hassan Haskins, too.
Sure.
I was going to just
Now,
ask you that.
He's not Austin Eckler, but he's shown capability and can play special teams. And, I mean, he's not going anywhere, I don't think, because he's a rookie, under salary, rookie slotted contract. But that would be an interesting thought.
Certainly would. And then the other move made yesterday, the Philadelphia Eagles agreed to terms with former Seattle Seahawk 27-year-old free agent Rashad Penny. 4th highest per carry average in NFL history, by the way, by a running back, Rashad Penny, with Miles Sanders likely on the move.
My goodness.
And Rashad Penny seemed like he was hurt a lot in Seattle to me. But
there had been a lot of kind of injuries.
Yeah, because he missed one season with an ACL or something, I think.
Yep.
So
because every time I would
liked the back. I liked him coming out of college.
It was like, Penny's not available.
His 5.7 career rushing average is 4th in the NFL behind, this is a name, Skeets Kinlan. Played in the 1950s.
That's why I don't know who Skeets Kinlan
Wait,
is.
time out. Is that a made-up name?
Nope.
No.
And J.K. Dobbins actually is on that list as well.
J.K., okay.
That's a made-up name, too.
We're not just kidding.
J.K. Rowling.
And Hall of Famer Marion Motley.
I know Marion Motley.
Who played in the 40s and 50s.
He was a monster back then.
Mm-hmm.
He was the Derrick Henry of the 50s, man. He was amazing.
Yep. So there you
Not
go.
your prototypical running back. He was a big old dude.
So if you had a Skeets Kinlan shout out on the show today, please collect your winnings at the pay window.
Oh,
buddy.
Also, you're a liar. So we are back at it tomorrow morning at 6 a.m., but we finish off the Wednesday edition of the show, as we always do, with our guy, VFL, Inky Johnson, sending us home with some midweek motivation. The Buck Rising Show is next. We will talk to you tomorrow morning.
And when people have excuses, I often say to them, like, bro, your excuse might be valid. Like, it might be valid. Like, it might be real deal. Like, you might got every right to feel the way you feel. Like, it might be valid. I said, but, like, character, the great thing about character, I often say to people, I grew up 2-bedroom house, 14 people. Whether you grew up in a 14-bedroom house with 2 people, when both of us came into this world, the physician couldn't come to us in the hospital and say, you inherit character. Right? It had to be cultivated.
Yeah.
Through situations, circumstances, environments, opposition, adversity, successes, failures. And so a thing that my mother taught me at an early age was honoring work. You know what I'm saying? Like, it's honoring it. She taught me that at an early age. And my mother was working a double shift at Wendy's, right? But she taught me, like, Ink, it's honor in working for what you want.
Yeah.
It's honor in saying you're going to give everything you got to something and you actually do it. Not that being predicated upon outcome, because we live in a world that's so transactional. And so because it's so transactional, it affects the work ethic. Right? It affects the dedication and commitment.
Yeah.
Because the world is so transactional.
Yeah. What's in it for me?
What's in it for me? Or it's predicated upon external factors. Neo give me what I want, I'm going to give Neo the optimal level.
Yeah.
Right? If it plays in my favor, I'm going to show up and I'm going to really operate on that level.
Yeah.
And it's not based upon integrity, character, and what we possess as people. And when my mother showed me at an early age, Ink, it's honor and work ethic.